Continuing chapter 2 with advertising. In New Jersey Real Estate Commission regulates all kinds of advertising. I mean, we have the laws. We also have the Real Estate Commission's rules, the administrative code. We have all kinds of rules pertaining to advertising. Um, whether it is offering to sell, buy, exchange, auction, or rent real estate. And the rules are intended to let the public know with whom exactly they're dealing with. And advertisements, they have to comply with the Real Estate Commission's rules, state laws, federal laws, etc. It doesn't matter what sort of medium you use to advertise it, whether it's print ads, television, radio, social media, internet, billboards, etc. If you can't fit the disclosures or the required uh, verbiage that's required to be put into ads, then don't do it or find a workaround. It needs to be there. Okay, that's basically the bottom line when it comes to advertising and having proper disclosures and such. Okay, so all ads, let's start off with this. All ads must state the brokerage name, the agency name, the company name, not the broker's name. There's a difference between the broker and the brokerage. Okay, so the brokerage name has to be in all ads. And the term realtor, realtist, or real estate broker or real estate agency, and or the realtor logo. Like you see two examples of it here. There's also a version of this in a red box too. That symbolizes the commercial real estate realtor's logo. Um, then we have the brokerage's name has to be in larger type and more prominently displayed than yours. Okay, so that the public knows who's the brokerage. Okay, so the the company name has to be in larger type and more prominently displayed than yours. And this especially becomes an issue when we deal not with individual agents but with teams. Because sometimes real estate teams within a brokerage, they even come up with their own name and logo. And now it starts getting really confusing for the public. Who's the agency? Who's the company here? You know, so it has to be clear as to who the company, who the agency is. So the licensee's name has to appear exactly as it is on your real estate license, with the exception of any middle name or initial, which need not be used. You could even use a nickname. Let's just say you have a first name that's difficult for most people to pronounce. Maybe it's like a foreign name, or it's just a difficult name for people to pronounce. You're allowed to have a nickname. You have to still have your real first name and your real last name, but in the middle, you could have a little bit bigger, maybe in quotes, your nickname, and that's allowable. Okay. Um, Salesperson's website or web page, whichever you have, must have a link back to the brokerage's website and the brokerage's phone number as well. So if you have your own extension at that brokerage, have the phone number with the extension and people will call it. If you have to have a, a link back to your brokerage's website, I'm sure you have your own profile page on their website. Have it linked back to your profile page so you don't lose that captured audience. So you get kind of like that round robin effect. Okay, and phone numbers. If you put a phone number in an ad or business card, because they're like your mini billboards, right? It doesn't matter where it is. You must state what that phone number is. You can't just list phone numbers. You have to say office, fax, cell. Never, 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 never use the term home office. Can somebody explain to me why? Why we can never use the term home office?
Because salesperson do not have any office. I mean, home
Because you,
office. It's
because you
broker's
cannot
office.
because you cannot have an office in your home. That's correct. Okay. So here's a link to it to this little screenshots I'm about to show you on the next page. But here's the guide on how your business cards should look. Something like this, your company's name in large and logo in larger type and more prominently displayed than yours. You have to use your real first name and last name. You could use an optional nickname in the middle. You could put their salesperson or LIC licensed RE salesperson, or you could put realtor associate because you're not a realtor, you're a realtor dash associate. You could put any of those things down there, and that's acceptable. You have to have the address to the brokerage. You got to state what those phone numbers are for, office, cell. Maybe you could put your own website on your thing here, and then just make sure you have a link to it on your website back to the brokerage's website. Or you could have both.
Question.
Yeah. Just don't make it too busy. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I forgot the question.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so if I'm not the member of NAR, the salesperson, still I'm the realtor associate, or I have to be the member to become the realtor associate?
You have to become a member to be a realtor associate.
Thanks.
But likelihood is your broker will be a member, so you're going to have to be a member. Okay. The only exceptions with commercial real estate, a lot of commercial real estate firms, they're not members of a realtor associate. They could be, but a lot of them are not members of realtor associations because they don't need any of those tools, I guess. But there are tools available from the realtor association for commercial real estate. So it depends on your brokerage, I guess. If your broker is a member of the Realtors Association, you'll need to be a member too. And if you could be working in residential real estate, most likely they will be. Okay. Because most of those MLSs have a requirement that you be a realtor in good standing, meaning you are a member of a realtor association and you've paid your dues and you've attended your 3-year triannual code of ethics training, which is different code of ethics than the code of ethics required for renewing your license. The realtor's code of ethics is specifically about the realtor's ethics, which is a whole document in its own that they've had around since before licensing was required in the state of New Jersey. Anyone recall when licensing was first required in New Jersey? Not that it's going to be an exam question or anything. Anybody recall?
1921?
Yeah, you got it. 1921. And even before then, the Realtors Association created their own code of ethics, their own standards for their members to follow. So they're not all likened to hucksters and snake oil salespeople, things of that nature. They realized that there was a need to regulate themselves because there was a lot of scam artists out there, and they give everybody else a bad reputation. So they needed to treat it like a business and a respectable entity. So they came up with their own association, the Association of Realtors. So not all licensees are members of the realtor organization. They follow a strict code of ethics they need to follow. And they created this code of ethics back in 1913. So way before real estate licensing was even required by the state of New Jersey, there was a need there to make sure we regulate ourselves, to show the public that we have a standard that we follow. Now, in reality, today's day, you could have people who are realtors, they take the realtor training and then they still do whatever the hell they want. But that's why they could get reported, they could get fined, they could get booted from the Realtors Association as well.
Where's that answer?
What answer?
That to the question you just asked.
I just asked it out of here. Here's where it was.
You come up with the answer. 1921.
That was like the first couple pages of the book. That the Realtors Association, that the Real Estate Commission was created, and licensing law required licensing first in 1921. It was in the first couple pages of chapter 1.
Okay.
And then if you're a broker,
second page, first line.
There you go. Thank you. And then same thing for brokers. Here's an example of a broker's license, broker's business card. Same thing. It's just a different title down below. Okay, so property ads must specify the municipal location where the property is located. Anybody know what a municipality is?
City.
Yeah, that's well, a city is a type of municipality. So why do they have different names like municipality or cities, towns, townships, boroughs, villages? This is a little bit of that little of that useless information. Um, okay, they're all municipalities. What they call that municipality is dictated by the form of government structure they've adopted to manage it. Okay, so whether they call it a city, town, township, borough, or a village. New Jersey has 5 types of municipalities. I just rattled them off there for you. All right. Oh, here, got them right there in the first line too. Cities, townships, boroughs, and villages. Okay.
And what page?
This is under advertising. So I'm sorry, I'm not following along here in the book. I'm just going along the slideshow here. So advertising.
Page
Oh,
20.
page 20.
20.
Yeah, page 20.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
But
you.
but you're not going to have that listed there with the types of municipalities and stuff. I add additional information to my slides here, so but this is there on page 20 under advertising. You must never use the term in the vicinity of in your ads to describe the location. You can't just say, it's in the vicinity of this or that. Um, you have to, you can use the words in the vicinity of, but not in place of the actual municipal location where the property is located. That must be specified somewhere in the ad. Okay. So you do get a question on exam about this. And I'm going to tell you, don't get confused by it. The book tells you you must never use the term in the vicinity of unless the name of the municipality is also in the ad. So you can use the term in the vicinity of, saying, hey, it's in the vicinity of this landmark or that landmark or this area of town, but you must specify what town it's in. Like in Edison borders Island. And there's an area where you have one of those Thomas Edison laboratories. It's called the Edison Tower section. It's right off of Route 27. There's even a sign there that shows you pointing towards one of his historic, places. And you go up the hill, you turn down the street, looks like a residential street, nice residential tree-lined street, and then it opens up to a big open area where there's no trees, no houses, anything, just this long tower. It looks like that the monument in Washington D.C. It's actually one of his laboratories there in Edison, right off of Route 27, like 2 blocks off of it. So a lot of people refer to that as the Edison Tower section. Okay, so what town though? Because back there's Edison, but there's also Island. So you can't just say in the vicinity of Edison Tower, unless you also clarify it by saying Edison, in the vicinity of Edison Tower, Island, because those are 2 different school districts, taxing bodies, police, garbage, waste, all that, right? Different school systems your kids would be going to. If they're going to Island, that's Woodbridge, where then you have Edison. So you need to specify which municipality it is. There's a similar thing like that down in Princeton. There's Princeton, and then there's another. Geez, I forget the name of the town. I actually had a client that made an offer on a listing down there. It wasn't my listing. It was I had the buyers. We made an offer on a property down there. Oh, was it Hamilton? No, Hamilton. Is that near Princeton? Geez, I forget. It's been a while.
Somerset?
No, it begins with an H, the name of the town. Okay, so there's Princeton, and then there's a town that begins with the letter H. I forget what it is. Anyway, they share the same zip code as Princeton. So people automatically think, hey, that's Princeton. My kids will go to this Princeton school system. No, they don't. And it's in the same it's the same complex of new homes. We're all built in this area. and half of it's in Princeton, half of it is in this other town, Hamilton or whatever it is. I forget the name of the town. They share the same zip code and as Princeton, but they don't go to Princeton school. So, I've had people that came in, they were curious about it. They're like, oh, I thought this was Princeton. I want my kids to go to the Princeton schools. Princeton schools are so much better. So you really need to know and specify. You can't just say it's in the vicinity of something. You have to really specify. And if you have something like that, say it's your listing and it shares a zip code as a neighboring town that may be nicer, or better school systems or whatever, you should really spell out, because it could mislead people. So you should really spell out that, hey, which district, which schools will the kids be going to? Even though it shares the Princeton zip code, it's actually this town. You point that out to potential buyers. Some may care, some may not. Now, municipal location doesn't need to be included in if the property is under a heading, like in a newspaper or magazine, it's got a heading, Edison. All the little ads for each property under Edison are in Edison. So you don't need to put in each little ad, it's in Edison, it's in Edison, it's in Edison, because it's under a heading. Same thing, I guess, on websites. The websites can have a heading of Edison, and then all the properties underneath them are in Edison. So you don't need to just repeat it. Okay, that's what they're saying here. So that's the only exception for you not including the municipal location, is when it's under the heading of a municipal location. And if you mention in an ad that you're a member of an MLS, you can't just say member of an MLS and then put a generic MLS logo like you see here on the slide. You have to spell out the full name of every MLS that you're a member of. If your advertisement is wider than one column or more than 20 lines, that's the rule. It does not include business cards or for sale signs, though. Ads that refer to a home warranty, well, let's just stop there for a second. If you see a for sale sign and it has a rider on it, it says home warranty. Do you have any other questions about that?
Yeah, what's the warranty for?
What does it cover? Who's the warranty company? How much is the warranty? How long is it for? Who has to pay for it? Is inspection required? Is it mandatory? There's a lot of other questions. So basically, the rule of thumb with this example applies to other things as well. Anytime you put in an advertisement something extra that would lead the public to maybe have questions about it, full disclosure is required. You have to disclose all those terms. Okay. So like an ad for a home warranty must state if the warranty is mandatory, if inspections required, who's responsible for paying the fees, etc. And that's the rule of thumb I just told you about. Now, buyer's rebates, if you mention a rebate in an ad that you're offering buyer's rebates, you must also disclose in that ad that they're responsible for paying any applicable income taxes in regards of receiving that rebate, and advise them to consult with a tax professional. That needs to be in the ad. So if you say that you want to advertise that you're offering home rebates for buyers that buy a house through you, you should also specify, that they should consult with a tax professional, that the buyer may be responsible for paying income taxes, and they should consult with the tax professional.
I don't get it. I mean, buyer rebate is given by buyer, I mean, by the agency.
Yes.
How this income tax is coming in between?
You're getting extra money. You're getting paid something, right?
I'm getting a rebate, so I have to use that rebate for income tax and tax professionals.
If you buy a house through me and I give you money, let's just say I give you $1,000 rebate. Okay, you got $1,000.
So I have to utilize that there.
You got to report it on your taxes that you got $1,000.
Oh,
and
okay,
pay
okay.
taxes on that income that you just got.
Okay,
It's
okay.
unearned income,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you still may be subject to income tax, depending on the amount of the rebate, your tax situation, yada yada whatever the laws are at the given time, because they're always changing pertaining to taxes, right? So consult with your tax professional because this stuff can get complicated, like right now, if you're a server, you know, um, if you're a server, if you work in a salon, if you're a bartender, if you're, any of these industries that offer tips, right? People make money off of tips. We all heard, hey, it's a federal law now, no tax on tips, right? Well, New Jersey, uh, because they can't let Trump get any satisfaction or praise for doing something good. What they did is they said, we're going to tax you still anyway. It's kind of like when he removed the fine when you had Obamacare, and New Jersey, well, actually, the federal government was fining people if you did not have that, if you did not carry Obamacare, you got a fine, right? So when Trump got into office the first time, what did he do? He eliminated that fine. But New Jersey, all with their Trump derangement syndrome, had to take away any possible praise that somebody may give him. So New Jersey came up with their own fine. Governor, that was his name, the last guy. Anyway, the last governor of New Jersey, he instituted New Jersey's own fine for you not carrying it. So because all of these things are fluid and laws change all the time and states do their own thing sometimes, always consult with a tax professional. Advise people consult with a tax professional. Don't try to be giving anybody tax advice, even if you know what you're doing, because you're getting paid to be a real estate agent here, not to be a tax professional, even if you are a real tax professional. Okay. Don't offer any of that additional advice. I mean, I've been in the business for a while. I could write up a lot of these contracts, but I'm not a licensed attorney, so I'm not going to be doing it. So stay in your lane as far as the expertise goes. That's all I'm saying there. Okay. So let's, I answered your question, right? Everything's okay. So here we go. Okay, so all ads must indicate the name of the brokerage company followed by the term realtor, realtist, real. Okay, so now we're just highlighting the stuff that I gave you on that previous slide. Not now realtor, realtists. Okay, did I have that yet? Yes. Up here, realtor, realtist. I kind of passed over it. I backed up 2 slides here. A realtist. What is a realtist? Okay, you may not have heard of that before. It's a member of a group called NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. This is actually an African American Association of Realtors. Yeah, I know. There's no just association of realtors that we could all belong. Now there's an African American Association of Realtors. There's a Hispanic Association of Realtors. There is an Asian American ARIA, I think they call it, Asian American Association of Realtors. There is Women's Council. Yeah, you got all these different associations of realtors. But keep in mind, you got to pay dues to become members of each one. You could join them all if you like, but you'd have to pay dues on them. Can I join this African American Association of Realtors? Look at me. Look at my skin tone. Can I join the African American Association of Realtors?
Probably, but you have to pay.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'll take my money. The thing is, if they rejected me, that would be discrimination and that would be against the law. So any association, I could join Women's Council, the Hispanic Association, the Asian Association. Actually, me and my ex-wife helped establish the Women's Council here in New Jersey, bringing it to New Jersey. Of course, I get no credit for it. They completely erased me from the roster there because the people that we started to recruit on there to help out establishing it, their brokerage pretty much, there was one particular brokerage, they moved in all their people into the positions and tried to push everybody else out. And then that got kind of some backlash and people were just like, screw this, we're not going to join this organization. It's just a big recruiting it's just a big recruiting tool now for this one brokerage. So they had to change that really quick once people started reporting it to NAR, but still, I'm not on any roster there. I don't get any credit for helping create women's council here in New Jersey, or my ex-wife, you know. But we did. Um, and let's see. But I was also asked to join Asian Association of Realtors, which actually started right in Edison. The owner of one brokerage over there, Mei Ling, she started uh, that venture. And I mean, you could get some good things out of it. You could get some business out of it. You could get some information on how to target certain groups and how to help them get into home ownership. That's the whole thing. You shouldn't really join these organizations unless you're getting something out of it business wise. You know, that is, of course, unless you just like to you're doing it just to mix and mingle with people. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people in the real estate industry. They don't make any money, and all they do is they're like seminar junkies. They like to go to seminars and meetings and just meet with people, mix and mingle, and have a good time. You know, but really, if you're in this for making a living, you should really focus on, is this a dollar producing activity that I'm doing? You should ask yourself that question all the time, and then because your time can really get occupied real fast doing a lot of non-dollar producing activities. So you got to try to focus on that, you know. Okay, so I just wanted to back up and show you that I didn't want to pass over, you know, the different associations of realtors that are out there, um, uh, and share that with you. Okay, so here, you guys got these. These are things that we had on the notes on the previous pages. Okay. Now, even though I only highlight certain things under advertising rules, I say study the entire section, because there's a lot of exam questions that come out from all of these advertising rules. You know, including, look, I didn't tell you to highlight this here, but I had it on the notes on the previous page. You know, if an advertisement includes a licensee's home phone, it must be identified such as res or home, but never put the term home office. Okay. You're probably better off using a line, a name like direct. It's your direct line, you know, or something like that. You know, don't use home office, home fax. Don't do that. Personal phone, personal fax. That could be different, right? All right. All ads must specify a property's municipal location. Okay, we already had this on the previous slide as well, talking about the phrases of in the vicinity of. And if you're a member of an MLS, you must state the full name of every MLS must be spelled out. Okay. With the exception of for sale signs and business cards. Okay, everybody's good with the highlights? All right. Now here's all the MLSs in New Jersey, all the ones that are primarily residential anyway. They do, these ones that I say are primary residential, they are primarily residential, but you can put commercial listings, businesses for sale, land for sale, things of that nature in these MLSs as well. But there are separate MLSs that are strictly for commercial purposes, and they have additional information in them that would be illegal or discriminatory if they were put into any of these residential MLSs. Okay, so check out the rules that I put here. It says you could only join an MLS if your broker's a member of that MLS. So what are you going to do when you're interviewing brokers? What MLS are you a member of? Okay. And you're licensed and a member of a realtors association in good standing, meaning that you paid your dues and you completed your realtors code of ethics training within 45 days of joining that association of realtors. You need to complete that realtors code of ethics training every 3 years. And you'll be a member of 3 associations of realtors. You'll join the local one, whichever one your broker's a member of. And then they'll sign you up for New Jersey. That's the one where you get all those benefits I was showing you yesterday. You know, the digital contract forms, electronic contract form systems, that legal library with questions and all kinds of data and information on there for you. And then you also get signed up for NAR, but you'll be billed by the local association for all 3. Okay. Now, NAR, their website link is nar.realtor. Okay, or you could also go to realtor.org. It'll take you to the same place, realtor.org, or nar.realtor, because NAR has its own top level domain now. A top level domain that's geek talk for internet stuff, .com, .net, .org. We all have heard of those before, but you could have custom ones now. So they have .realtor. Okay. And you could sign up for one and reserve one of your own if you wanted to use that too. I would suggest try to find one that's a .com first. Okay. If you could find one, start looking them up. Use like tools like GoDaddy.com. They're cheaper for getting domain names, and get a domain name or a couple domain names with your name if it's available. Try not to use hyphens and funky misspellings. Try to keep it simple that people could understand it. This is why in the early days when they first introduced the domain names instead of numbers to reach computers that you would type in for computers to reach each other or to get a website, you had to type numbers in and go to what they called bulletin boards, which we now call websites pretty much. Now you could type in a name. Okay. Now this will you had a lot of people that invested in just buying every name in the dictionary. Okay. So your name may not be available. So you got to try to do a little play on it, maybe like Victor sells New Jersey or something like that, or something real estate related. I can't even think of one off the top of my head right now, even though I own about 1,000 domain names. Yeah, I know I spend a lot of money on domain names every year. But look, here I have a link to all the local associations of realtors in New Jersey. I could click on that and share that with you. See, here's all the different local boards. A lot of different local boards of realtors, and some of them have even merged, but they still operate independently as well. So you'll probably join whichever one your brokers are a member of. Then you've got New Jersey Realtors. Their website is njrealtor.com. To have it in your notes. And then here's a list of every MLS in New Jersey. Let's click on that one. Share that one with you. And you see it's on the New Jersey Realtors website where they're showing you all these local boards and MLSs. Okay. You have All Jersey MLS, formerly Central Jersey MLS, formerly Middlesex County MLS. They changed their name quite a few times in recent years because they were always just a Middlesex County MLS. Now they're trying to broaden their market share. So they changed their name to Central Jersey, and then quickly after they changed it to All Jersey because they said, hey, what the hell? If we're going to change our name to Central Jersey, we might as well try to get a bigger market share and just say All Jersey, claim all of New Jersey, right? So that's what they did. And they're actually doing pretty good things right now because they're working with other MLSs to merge, and they're coming out with a real cool tool that they're going to be implementing probably this year, where if you're a member of several MLSs and you get a listing, say you get a listing that is bordering like 2 towns or 2 counties that are covered by different MLSs, you can put it once in All Jersey MLS and have that listing also automatically entered in that other MLS that you're a member of, instead of having to go type everything back in, upload the pictures, do everything manually for each one. So that's pretty cool time saver there too. So that's pretty cool. So they're actually doing some stuff to make it worth it now. Bright MLS, Cape May County MLS, Garden State MLS, Moore MLS, that's Monmouth Ocean County MLS, New Jersey MLS, Realty Multiple Listing System, and South Jersey MLS. Okay, now what areas do those cover? Well, I got the breakdown here. I wrote it down for you. The GSMLS is the Garden State MLS, and they basically cover, now keep in mind, every single one of these MLSs, when you go into them, they have a listing of all 21 counties and all 564 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Actually, I think I even have it written. Let me see. Yeah. They have a listing of all 21 counties and 564 municipalities in New Jersey. But whichever one the majority of agents use in that particular town or area is what we refer to as the primary MLS. And that's where you should put the listings that you get from those areas. Now, according to the realtors, according to New Jersey statutes and the administrative code, when we get a listing, we need to put it in the MLS. How soon?
24 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours. 48 hours. Sorry. Yeah.
48 hours. Okay. And, but it doesn't say which MLS. It just says you need to put it in NMLS, right? So, that's a way, I guess, you could try to get a secret pocket listing that all the other agents don't know about. You know, by you get a listing up here in Essex County and you put it in the Cape May County MLS, agents up here ain't going to be looking for a listing in that area, right? So if somebody wants to buy that house, they're going to have to contact you. Okay, that's a little slimy to do, though. You know, even though you're in compliance with the law because you put it in NMLS. If your clients find out about it, it's not a very ethical thing to do because most agents are not going to be looking for the listing in that area. And the reason why you did that, if you were to try to explain it, it's putting your own best interest first, not your clients. Because your client's best interest would be to get the maximum exposure to their property that you could. Right. So you would want to put their listing in the MLS that the majority of agents in that area are using to search for properties for their clients. Right. Makes sense. Okay. So the Garden State MLS, its primary area is Union, Essex, Morris, Somerset, Hunterdon, Warren, and Sussex County. All Jersey MLS, formerly Central Jersey MLS, formerly Central Middlesex County MLS. Its primary area is Middlesex County. Even though they're trying to gain a wider market share, it's going to take years for that to happen. They're really primarily Middlesex County. Okay. Then you have the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS. That's what MORE MLS stands for, Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS. So they cover all of Monmouth County and the northern part of Ocean County. Then you have RMLS. Yeah, I'm sorry. Before I go on. Okay, so the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, they're merging with Southern Ocean MLS and the Cape May County MLS. It's not done yet, though. It's not a done deal yet. You still need to have separate memberships and logins to both of those MLSs. And then they're going to be implementing a tool like All Jersey MLS where you could put the listing in one MLS and it'll automatically go to the others as well. You know, so when you say MLS, there's not just one MLS for the entire state. These are businesses. So it's whichever MLS you choose to join, whichever one is offered the best tools and such. So our MLS, Hudson County MLS, they cover all of Hudson County except for the northernmost region of Hudson County, which is covered by NJ MLS. They cover the northernmost region of Hudson, Bergen, and Passaic County. And then Bright MLS, well, they're pretty much everything from Mercer County straight down to Atlantic and then make a left turn. Okay, so all of this farmland area and, you know, forest lands and such, this is all their area. They also cover, so they cover the southwestern part of the state. It used to be called Trend MLS. They're now called Bright MLS. They also cover Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. However, you could search for listings in those areas, but you cannot put listings in them because you got to be licensed in those states. Okay. And Cape May County MLS merged with MORE MLS. Actually, it's MORE MLS. It used to be just MOR MLS. Now it's MORE MLS. Let me make that correction there on that slide.
Which is the most expensive area in this map?
Most expensive area in New Jersey? Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking for? What is the most expensive
Where
area in
where you
New
get good commissions.
Well, how much you get for the commission versus the price of the houses are different stories too, because you could get some cheap bastards out there that don't want to pay you anything, they don't want to pay you what you're worth. You got to really negotiate those terms. And when you got rich people out there, they could be snooty. Listen, everybody, when they first get their real estate license, what they want to do is, I want to get those mansion listings, those $1 million listings. Yeah. Have you ever dealt with any of those people? They're going to sit down with you and they're going to interview you. They're going to be like, so how many homes have you sold this year? What is your list to sale price ratio? How many listings do you currently have? And they're going to be asking you all kinds of questions too that you may not have the answers to. And you're going to be like, oh man, this sucks. I'm not getting that listing. But, this is the crap you got to deal with. So work your way up. Start by doing some deals on the cheap houses, sell some condos, some busted up fixer and flippers, and get familiar with the business. Then you can work your way up to the $1 million listings. Okay. And a lot of times it could just be the attitude. I've seen some of these people on social media now. And like, you see some of these ladies, they dress all up in fancy clothes and they're talking like they're movie stars, like on these HGTV programs, giving you guided tours of the house and stuff, trying to be all elegant and whatnot. And it's like, wow, they did a really good job with their speaking and their presentation and the way they filmed this all, like they're little movie stars, in their own world. And hey, the public will buy it. That's what you got to do. Stuff like that. That's sales. But like this one lady, she had a whole series of them, and I was like, wow, she's doing a really good job. And the way she makes herself up and everything, very elegant. And but I had to send her something as a little critique because she could have gotten herself in trouble. I'm like, you keep making posts about it had something to do about the price or how she's wording it, and she keeps wording it the same way in a lot of videos, and it's totally illegal the way that she's doing it. She's totally breaking the rules. So if somebody wanted to report her and make a formal complaint, she could get fined heavily and have sanctions against her license. And yeah, I don't want to do that. She seems like she's trying to do a really good job here. She's doing an excellent job with her marketing and stuff. Bravo to her. But I gave her a heads up. I sent her a message just to these are the rules. You should check with your broker because a lot of your videos, they're done very beautifully. You've done a great job. But they could get you in trouble because you're doing something wrong. I hate to be the negative guy giving you the negative points of stuff, but I'd rather give you the heads up than you get in trouble for it later on and fined later on for it. But yeah, do stuff like that.
Yeah. So I was watching Barbara Corcoran's interview where she said that I started working on my communication, how the way I look, I changed my dressing style. I mean, the whole year she tried to transform herself to fit in the society. But
Yeah.
then she said my business went down. Then next year I wore my attitude and then I was flying.
uh, it all plays a role. It all plays a role. Like, don't go out, showing houses in flip flops and a smock. you know, I, I mean, I've seen guys do this. They go out, and they're showing houses. They look like they're going to the beach. They've got like their Hawaiian shirt on. They've got their short. They're wearing shorts and flip flops, and it's like nothing can possibly be more unprofessional. Um, so you got to dress. You got to dress the part. Treat it like a business. Sure, even if you're in a hot vacation area where you're selling properties in Hawaii or something, that may be a little bit more acceptable, but it's still not professional. You got to treat it like a business. When I was doing this full time, doing the sales myself, I was always out there wearing a suit, sweating my ass off. In the hot days. But I was out there wearing a suit. People give you a certain amount of respect when you present yourself in a certain way. Now if you don't want to do that suit uh, route, I ended up changing it up a little bit later on. You can wear dress shirts still that are t-shirts. You don't need to wear a three-piece suit. um, uh, or have, if your company has like professional collared t-shirts with logos, with the company logo. That's still a professional presentation. And then you could wear dress pants or jeans even. Um, uh, you know, Try to look presentable. And when you speak to people, I know we try to build rapport with people right away, and that's tough to do, to build rapport in an instant when you first meet people. But usually in the first couple of minutes that you talk to somebody, they decide whether they're going to work with you or not. So trying to build rapport with them, uh, it's like you want them to like you and stuff and be friendly with you. So, but you can't be always joking around and smiling and treating everything like a joke, because the first time that something happens and screws up, they're like, this person's a freaking clown, you know, and now it's your fault for everything. They're going to turn on you in a second. So treat it like a business. Don't get too comfortable around these people, even though you could get very friendly with people. Don't be overly relaxed about it, because I'm telling you, the first time they ask for information or you screw something up or something screws up and it's not your fault, you're going to get blamed for it, because you're the clown now. Okay. So treat it like a business, be professional at it. You also don't want to be too joking like that, because there's also issues where you have social issues you got to deal with. You got your ladies over here, you're going to be joking around with people, being friendly and smiling. And now the wife is going to get jealous because the husband's paying you attention or something. Not that you're trying to get that attention or anything. I'm just saying people take things in a different way, and not the way that you want to. Okay. I've had students take these comments that I've given, this advice I've given before, in a negative way, like you're trying to seduce people and stuff like that. And that's the farthest thing from what I meant. You're trying to be friendly with them and build rapport. People can take it the wrong way though. And now the wife doesn't want to work with you because you look sexier than her, or whatever goes through people's minds. You know what I'm saying? So treat it like a business, be professional. You could be elegant, that's fine, just but be professional in the business. Okay, it's my 2 cents about it. Same thing with the guys. Guys can be very flirty too, and that's not good. You're going to get a husband that's going to get really mad if you're paying more attention to the wife and flirting with her, trying to build that rapport because he seems like he's more of a stone. You have to balance it and be careful on how you're dealing with couples, more so than when you're dealing with singles. Okay. But either way, you still have to treat it like a business. There are classes you could take on this stuff. I had a broker that had a real estate mortgage company that was trying to suck up to them to get their mortgage reps to stay in the office all the time. And they were offering like free classes to the Dale Carnegie School of Sales, School of Business. So nobody wanted it. And I was like, shit, it's free. I'll take it. you know so I went there. It's just general sales. I had a feeling it probably wouldn't apply directly to my business, and most of the stuff didn't. But listening to how they taught and what they taught, um, I could see how I could learn some new things and then apply it to real estate, because a lot of it's human nature. but they were talking about follow-ups and, reselling products and selling more products to people. That doesn't really work the same in real estate. People aren't going to go buy another house next week, but some really interesting things I've learned about how to talk on the phone to people. All right. How to do public speaking. You can't be nervous about that, but one tip they gave is at your desk, put up a mirror, small mirror. Okay. Before you ever get on a phone to talk to somebody, especially if you're cold calling someone or calling someone you never spoke to before, do this. Sit up straight because your posture matters. Don't be slouched down. I know it's the end of the day and you're down on the phone and you're talking like this. It sounds like you're beat up already, But if you sit up, you see how my voice changed, just the sound and pitch of my voice just by sitting up. When you sit up and you have the proper posture, you look in the mirror before you ever get on the phone and do this. Smile. Force a big smile in the mirror. Look, I'm serious. You look in the mirror and you smile. Now you get on the phone and you could see my voice changed even more right now, right? And that projects across the phone to people, Also, here's another tip. It could be dangerous depending on how good you are at it and how don't go overboard about it. There's something called mimicking. Okay. You know how some people talk very fast and some people are slow talkers? Some people are loud talkers and some people are very mousy and quiet. They tend to gravitate. There's magnetism. They tend to gravitate towards likeness. So if you talk like them, if they're slow talkers, slow your speech to their pace. If they're fast talkers, speed it up a little bit. Or if they're loud talkers, you can raise the volume a little bit or lower it a little bit accordingly. And if they have an accent, be careful with that one. But you can mimic their accent a little bit. Okay. You got to be careful with it because if somebody catches you doing it, it sounds like you're messing with them and you're making fun of them. Okay. I've actually done this before to people with like Southern accents, Texas accents, Indian accents. I've done it for all backgrounds and what have you. You got to make sure that you play it right though. If you actually do it softly, mildly, they won't even catch it, but you'll notice you're going to pull them in more. It's psychology. It's the weirdest thing. And a lot of it is they don't even think about it. They're not actively even thinking about that, but it pulls them in and it really does work. These are sales tactics that I've learned from Dale Carnegie School of Sales. I picked up these and from other trainers, real estate trainers, teach these same kinds of methods. You got to practice them a little bit though. Practice it in a mirror to yourself before you start turning on accents, especially that, because that one is very dangerous. Because if you overdo it or you do it wrong, people can be like, "What are you doing? Are you making fun of me?" And you got to be careful. Okay, you can be careful with that. But if you do it right, you could pull them in and you'll see what I'm talking about. Try it with your friends. Don't tell them you're doing it. Just try it with your friends. If they got like a different accent than you, or if they talk fast or slow, try mimicking. Okay, try mimicking. Just do it as a game for yourself, inside joke for yourself. Okay. And you're going to see the response that you're going to get from people, how you could pull them into conversations a little bit better. Is it a little manipulative? Certainly. But that's sales a little bit, right? Okay. Moving along. So anyway, these are all the MLSs here.
So one question, in this slide, do we have to remember the numbers, days, municipalities, counts, and all? No, this is just for the information?
This is all for your own edification.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
But you do need to know that you put that listing in the MLS within 48 hours, and that there are 20. Well, you don't need to know that there's 21 counties and 564 municipalities. You should know it as a real estate agent, but it's not a question on exam. The Realtor Code of Ethics, that has nothing to do with state licensing. That just has to do with your membership in that professional trade organization. That you may need to know, that they have nothing to do with state licensing. If you
Can you
violate their
repeat that?
ethical rules. Yeah, if you violate the Realtor's Code of Ethics, are you breaking the law? Is it going to have an effect on your license? And the answer is no. Like I told you, if you got a listing in Essex County and then you put it in a Cape May County MLS, did you just break the law? No. Is it unethical? Probably.
This is 11.5.
11.5 is the administrative code, correct?
Is that the same thing or no?
Well, from the Realtor's Code of Ethics is the rules that you follow for the realtors organization. It's different from the ethics class that you take for renewal of your license. Okay.
No, but I mean the Realtors Code of Ethics is not. That's part of that association. It's not part of the administrative code, correct?
No, the administrative code is just the rules that we need to follow
Okay.
that were created by the Real Estate Commission.
Okay. And this is for realtors, like the program for realtors, right? Like the little.
The Code of Ethics is their rules that we need to learn, their ethical code that they follow. We also need to take a ethics class for the renewal of our license, which is different. Okay. Realtor Code of Ethics. Actually, I should put a link here for that, because if we go to the NARS website, education, here you go, Code of Ethics training. I'm bouncing around through this website. You guys aren't even seeing it. So I went right here to the Realtors website, National Association of Realtors, NAR.realtor. Okay. They got a lot of information. They've been around for 117 years. Look at that. Pay dues, blah, 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 forms, all kinds of stuff. There's so much information you could get lost in this site for weeks. Okay. But you go here to education, Code of Ethics training. You could check the Code of Ethics status if you need to have yours updated. If you are a new member, right here, you would come here and you'd click new member course and take that for free. You need to take it within 45 days of your membership in the organization. Code of Ethics course for existing members, we need to renew it every 3 years, right? So we got to take it every 3 years. Okay. View my options to complete the Code of Ethics. You could also take them in local classes too. Let's see. Code of Ethics deadline graphics. Let's see their deadline graphics. I know it's coming up. I'll get to that. For existing, let's see, check the Code of Ethics status. Let me check my Code of Ethics status. Sign in. Forget when I took it last. Was it a year? Was it 2 years? No, I'm good till the end of 2017. So I'm good for now. Wait, complete is status? Oh, incomplete. All right. Begins January 1st, 2028. Okay, so I'm good. I don't know why it says incomplete. I guess I'm incomplete for the next cycle, but I'm good for now.
So the NARS National Association Realtors, that's the thing that you were explaining, that is realtor, not what we are. Correct?
Wait, repeat that.
NAR, what is NAR? Can you repeat what is NAR?
NAR is right here. NAR, National Association of Realtors.
And it's just that.
It's an organization. It's a professional organization for real estate licensees.
But not us, right? Like.
Well, once you get your license, it will be. You could join this organization because you are, if you want to, which you're probably going to need to if you plan on selling residential real estate. Do you plan on working in residential real estate?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, if you do, you're probably going to need it. because
Okay.
you're going to need to join an MLS, and most MLSs have a requirement that you're a realtor in good standing, meaning that you're a member of this professional trade organization.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you.
if
Can
you go
I
through their
ask?
website, you can see there's all kinds of information and you know data information and benefits available to us.
Can I ask how much is the fee for that?
Well,
$600.
you're going to pay for you're going to pay for it at the local level. You're going to join the local association of realtors, and they'll sign you up for the state and the national association. Um,
It's six
I'm a
hundred
me-
dollars.
well, it it varies depending on which local you're a member of and what fees they charge and all that. It's four, it's like 450. I'm Middlesex County, all Jersey MLS, and that oh, wrong one.
So one
Uh,
of salesperson told me that initially for 2 years you do not get any commission, nothing. I mean, it takes 2 years to learn everything, and you don't get anything. So is it true?
listen, listen.
Yeah.
Do not take advice from other agents out there, especially if they are not top producers,
Thank you.
because misery loves company. You know what I mean? People love to drag you down. They're going to tell you, "Oh, it's hard." Real estate has no lack of complainers. People are always bitching and complaining of how tough this business is. Now, I could quote to you. I could point out right off the top of my head. I know one girl that took my class. She got out there. She already knew somebody who was looking to buy or sell a house, and that was her first client, a friend. Okay, a friend or coworker. But about a month or two into her getting her license, she called me up and asked me if I have any good students that are go getters that she could hire as assistants because she's killing it, and she can't do it all on her own because she's got so much business. So, how much of a go getter are you? Are you going to sit around wait for the broker to spoon feed you leads of customers? You're going
Not
to
at all.
starve.
Yeah.
That's how you starve. Because your broker may give you leads here and there, but if you're going to be waiting for them, you're going to starve. You need to have your brokers give you training. That nothing is more important to a new agent than training. Okay. Not what you get in this class, how to get out there and get the business. Even though I'm going to give you tips in this class, some tips, your brokers really need to give you the training. And so interview brokers that'll give you training and not charge you for it, not sell you a bunch of books and DVDs and all kinds of bullshit like that that you probably are not going to look at on your own. Okay. I know some franchises were built up around a guy who wrote a book, about being a millionaire real estate agent or listing agent or some crap like that. And that they sell their books, they push all their books and CDs and all that. And you need to buy $600 worth of that crap before you get started in their training program, and a lot of people never even look at it. I've had an agent that gave me all their stuff. I got it sitting right here next to me. I'm not going to lift it up because then you'll know from what franchise it's from. But the I training is the most important thing you could get because once you get your license, now what? How do I get the money? Well, you need to get clients. What kind of clients you want to get? What area of real estate you want to focus on? Do you want to deal with low income housing? Or do you want to deal with $1 million listings? Or do you want to deal with investors who are looking for investment properties, multifamilies, properties to fix and flip? Do you want to specialize in condominiums? Do you want to specialize in new construction? Uh, there's so many areas that you could go into. You want to go into property management? You want to go into commercial real estate? What kind of commercial real estate? Office space, warehouses, strip malls, retail space, industrial, Uh, I, what area are you looking to delve into? There's so much that you could, so many directions you could go into. Okay, I decided to go into residential, and I dabbled in commercial a little bit, but I went into residential, and of course, I wanted those $1 million properties, but I ended up getting just your average homes and condominiums, and I sold a lot of condos. And at the end of the year, I reflected and seen where did I get the most of my money from. Multifamily house sales, because I did some of those. I did some of those single family houses, but I found out that I sold a lot of condos. So I started marketing myself in a real cheesy way as the condo king. you know, and found my niche. I just did that, and I was listings of condos left and right, sales of condos left and right. I made a killing, at that. So you just got to find your niche, but you need training. You need training. You focusing on buyers or sellers? I'm going to tell you, you should spend about 70% of your time trying to get listings. Okay. My motto is if you don't list, you won't last, or at least you can't stay home sick or go on vacation. Because if you're only working with buyers and renters, you're always running around like a chicken with their head cut off showing properties. And if you stay home and you're not showing properties and writing contracts, you ain't getting paid. But if I got a listing, I could stay home sick or go to the beach, and I have other agents making appointments with my office to show my listings, and then maybe even writing contracts. I come back, hey, there's an offer that I could present, and yeah, look at that. I still get paid from the seller side. And then there's the added bonus that I could potentially get the buyer and get both ends of the deal. One transaction, buyers or sellers, which one you want to focus on, right? So, but you need to get the training, on basically how to put deals together and walk you through the steps. We're going over that stuff here, but you're going to need to get familiar with it, do it over and over again. Maybe have a little hand holding at the beginning in your office. And training matters more than your commission splits. Don't focus on getting a high commission split from the brokerage that you go to work for. High commission splits equal less hand holding, right? So you want a broker that's going to give you that training. Don't go start working for somebody for less than 50%. Okay. Look, if it's 50% commission split and it's a franchise, or they're charging you technology fees or whatever fees for leads and stuff, you're getting paid less than 50%. Okay. Probably about 8% less. Okay. So 60% and above, 60, 70% is good for you to start at. Right. Don't go looking for 90 or 100% commission splits. Usually you don't get any support from the office at those levels. And sometimes they even charge you something called desk fees. Don't pay desk fees. Desk fees are you paying rent for the privilege of associating hanging your license at that brokerage. Okay. You got to pay them whether you have any deals or not. It's like paying rent to have my license there. You better be getting something out of it, like a super high commission split. But still, as a new agent, you need the training. You need a broker to teach you how to how does that saying go? Feed a man, he eats for a day, teach him to fish, and he'll never starve. Right? The same thing goes with this business. You need a broker that teaches you how to do the business so that you can get it yourself. You'll never starve. If you're waiting for somebody to spoon feed you, you ain't gonna last. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. The new real estate has a high turnover rate because of that. Okay, so take my advice on this. All right, we're getting a little lost in that. Let's move on. I know these are valuable little tidbits, but we still got to keep moving on. So let me go back to the slideshow. All right, so these are the primarily commercial MLSs: CoStar, LoopNet, CIMLS, and then there's some other commercial tools here, 10X and Crexi. There used to be competitors for CoStar out there, but they sued them and ran them out of business. CoStar is the largest commercial real estate broker, real estate MLS in the world, and they are expensive. Last I checked, membership was the cheapest plan of membership they had. This was years ago too, so I don't know how much it costs now, but it was $325 a month. A month. Now, commercial deals you get paid a lot more on, but it takes longer to close. So, but CoStar, what you're paying with any of these MLSs, you're paying for data. The residential MLSs, you're paying for access. So CoStar, you don't even need to be a real estate licensee to become a member. You could have a building owner that pays the membership to become a member of it themselves. So a little more competitive too, a little more cutthroat in commercial real estate. So LoopNet is a more affordable version. They were bought by CoStar years ago. And anything you put in LoopNet goes into CoStar. They have some nice tools and stuff. It's a little bit cheaper way to get into commercial real estate. CIMLS is the commercial industrial MLS, and this one's actually owned by a Realtors Association, so therefore you need to be a member of a Realtors Association in order to get involved in that one. 10X used to be called LoopNet Auctions and Auction.com. It's now called 10X. Then we got Crexi. It's a commercial marketplace. It's not an MLS. So no licenses required for any of these commercial MLSs. Like I said, anyone can pay for the membership to join them, unlike the residential MLSs. Commercial MLSs are pay for data and information models, whereas the residential ones, you're paying to access them. And the types of searches that you could do is like you could do radius searches from a certain point that you could have a circle drawn around it and do a search from within that designated area. Or they have these tools where you could click points on a map to draw weird, funky shapes, and it'll do a search only within that geographic region that you drew out on a map. And you could do searches based on demographic data based on people's income, their relationship status, whether they're married or single, ethnicity, religion, if they're owner occupants versus renters. If you could do searches for stuff like that in the residential MLSs, totally illegal, because we can't search for homes for people based on who lives in an area, based on their ethnicity or religion. That's discriminatory. So why is it allowed in the commercial MLSs? Well, because commercial is for businesses, and businesses need to know their target audiences. And you need to put your business in an area where your target audience is. Make sense? So why show ethnicity or relationship status? Well, what if you're opening a wedding gown store and a tuxedo shop, or what if you're opening a clothing store selling saris, those those bright dresses that the Indian ladies wear for the special occasions, right? Anybody can buy them, right? It's not just for Indian ladies, right? But anybody can buy them. But who is the primary target audience, really, who's mostly buying it? It's going to be people of a certain culture. So you could search based on ethnicity, search areas, and that's where you would want to put those stores, right? Because you're going to get the most bang for your buck having your store in an area that has a high population of Indian people there. Right. Same thing with ethnic foods, although anybody can eat ethnic foods and often do these days. But still, even with that, if you put it in an area with a high, some sort of an Asian restaurant in an area where there's a high Asian population, you're going to get better bang for the buck than you do elsewhere. Right. That you're going to have the business there. You guys ever watch a program on TV called Bar Rescue? With John Taffer, he sees these bars that are failing, and he goes in and tries to rescue them and turn them around and see why they're failing. Well, one of the first things that he does after he does his little investigation behind the scenes is now when he decides that he's going to rescue the bar, he pulls out these blueprints and he pulls out these maps, and he's like, okay, well, here's your bar, but before we could do that, here's a map of the area, and here's everything within 1 mile, 3 mile, and a 5 mile radius of your location. These are mostly singles or couples or young people or older people or blue collar workers versus white collar workers. You can't just put up any kind of a bar and build it and expect people to come. You got to target the audience of the majority of the people that live in the area. And you have to, it's a business. There's a science to the building a bar that is successful. And so that's why he looks up all the demographic data of the area, of the people that are in the area before he decides what kind of changes they're going to make to turn this bar around. All right, and make it a successful business. So this is why these commercial MLSs are so expensive, because you're paying for all this data, all this information, which is extremely useful to commercial businesses. Okay. Moving along. Advertising rules with home warranties. I already told you about that on that one slide. We had all of these informations, but here's just where you could highlight it. Page 21. Okay. Any advertisement referring to a home warranty, and also with rebates. Rebates, you got to advise people to pay taxes and to speak with a tax professional. Page 21, Regulation Z. Highlight, an ad may not indiscriminately promise financing, and I want you to write above that Regulation Z, page 291-293. Okay. So if in an ad you talk about financing, you must discriminate. You have to qualify it with a term like "to those who qualify." Otherwise, anybody who sees that ad is going to assume, or could assume, that they could get the financing no matter what, because you said the financing is available for them. So you cannot indiscriminately promise financing. You must discriminate by using a qualifying term, by saying the words "to those who qualify" or "to a qualified buyer," and then also give additional disclosures. And this is not just for, by the way, real estate. This applies to anybody, any industry, any business. You see commercials on TV where they're saying, where they're offering financing or multiple payment plans, to buy the pots and pans or that latest vacuum cleaner or a car or whatever the commercial is selling on TV. If they're talking about financing, if they mention an interest rate, if they mention terms, well, now you're talking about financing, and Regulation Z kicks in, and Regulation Z implements something called TILA, the Truth in Lending Act, that requires full disclosure of financing terms when talking about financing in an ad, no matter what industry it is, whether it's real estate or a different industry, whatever product it is that you're selling. Okay, so you will get questions on both exams about Regulation Z, whether they mention it by name or not. You need to recognize what it is. When talking about financing in an ad, certain disclosures need to be made. Okay, I'll get into it more deeper now after you just highlighted this and made that note. The next slides are probably going to go to page 291 to 293. Let me see. Well, no, actually, we're going to first have this custom slide I made, which is probably better for you to study from. I would highly suggest you snap a picture of this one. Add this to your notes, okay? Because this has everything you need to know about Regulation Z. And I put it neatly here with a bow on it. Because right after this slide, we're going to go to page 291, 292, 293, and I think a couple other pages in that area, and highlight one term here, a phrase there, and to try to study that and make sense of it is hard. Here I have everything compiled for you, everything you need to know about Regulation Z. So Regulation Z is a federal law that implements TILA, the Truth in Lending Act. It requires full disclosure when talking about financing in an advertisement when certain what we call triggering terms are used. Now, so what is a triggering term? These are words in an ad that would require the full disclosure of financing terms and a qualifying statement to avoid indiscriminately promising financing to anyone who sees that ad. If in an advertisement you mention an interest rate, a payment amount, a down payment amount, or a term, like the number of payments or payment periods or years, these are all triggering terms that trigger the full disclosure requirement. By the way, you need to know that term, triggering terms. What are triggering terms? Okay. Now, what constitutes full disclosure now? Well, full disclosure would require you saying to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. That way, you're not indiscriminately promising financing to everyone who sees the ad. You're saying to those who qualify. Okay. That's what discriminating means here. Okay. And in addition to that, you would also have to disclose all the terms, which include the APR. The APR stands for annual percentage rate, and that is different from the interest rate. If you guys notice, doesn't matter if it's a credit card or whatever kind of financing it is, a home loan, car loan, they always advertise an interest rate that you could get. And then there's an APR. The APR is different. It's always a smidgen higher. That APR is always a little bit higher. Let me give you a little explanation to educate you a little bit about what an APR is. An APR, the annual percentage rate, is the interest rate plus if you were to factor in any one-time non-reoccurring fees associated with obtaining that financing, like an application fee, an appraisal fee. They're non-reoccurring fees, but they are associated with you getting that financing. If you were to factor them into the interest rate over the life of the loan and then break it down to an annual basis of how it would change the interest rate, it would bring it up just a smidgen. Okay, that's why the APR is always a little bit higher than the interest rate, because it includes all those one-time non-recurring fees that are factored into the interest rate, and it gives you the actual interest rate that you end up paying if you were to factor in those other costs. Okay. Then you have the down payment amount, if required, needs to be disclosed, as well as the terms, the number of payments or payment periods. Now, if you don't disclose all of these things and follow Regulation Z, well, let's first see this. It does not apply to business or commercial loans, cash transactions, reverse mortgages, or land loans with removable dwellings like mobile homes. Now, if you do not follow Regulation Z rules, if you talk about financing in an ad and you don't do the full disclosure part, the penalties for violating an administrative order of Regulation Z is $10,000 per day, not up to, but $10,000 fine per day that advertisement was visible in the public domain to the public, violating the rules. Plus attorney fees, and willful violation is considered a misdemeanor crime, punishable by an additional $5,000 fine and up to 1 year in prison. Okay, so you need to know about Regulation Z, what the triggering terms are, what full disclosure is, the qualifying statement, and what the fines are for Regulation Z or on TILA. And that Regulation Z implements TILA, the Truth in Lending Act. Okay, now as real estate professionals, real estate salespeople, why would you talk about financing in an ad? There's no reason for you to. You could just put the sale price, or you don't even have to put a price in the ad. You could put a property up there and have people call you. Or you could put this home asking price. Or some agents, they get into talking about financing because they say, get into this home for as little as so much payment per month or per week or per day. They break it down. Okay. But if you're going to break it down like that, you better make sure such financing exists, because we can't make up stuff either. So if you talk about financing in an ad, in that advertisement, you also have to specify if that's a real financing, you have to specify according to what interest rate you calculated that monthly payment or weekly payment or whatever. You have to show according to what price, with how much of a down payment, at what interest rate, um, you worked out that they could get that into that house for that payment amount. Okay, so it's
Is
more work
there
involved. It's
is
more
there
work involved
any
to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
is there any arrangement between the real estate salesperson or agency with the bank also? Because there was an experience with the lady. She was, I mean, she recommended a bank, and then later on, they knew that the bank rate were higher than the others, something like that. So we were confused. Is there any arrangement between the two?
I don't recommend
Is it
anybody.
legal?
You mean can she get kickbacks? Who
No.
can pay you? Only your broker. Okay. Now, can your broker get paid by banks for recommending them? No. Okay. You cannot. There are that would be commission. That would be a commission, right? It'd be based on a sale. In order to earn a commission as a real estate agent, you need to be a licensed real estate agent. In order to earn a commission as a in writing loans, you need to be a licensed mortgage solicitor. Now, if you're a licensed mortgage solicitor, can you also recommend? Can you be the real estate agent and the mortgage solicitor for the same person? Used to be that you can. Now it's a conflict of interest. You can't. But you can refer that business to someone else and still get a piece of the pie if you have both licenses. Okay. But do most people have that? No. So that lady that was referring you to a certain bank, well, she probably just got friendly with a certain lender, and was referring you that business. I sometimes it could be done because they do co-marketing together. It's like I'm going to be sending out a mailing trying to get listings, right? And I'll put a little strip on the bottom for the mortgage rep or that lender, or on the back side of the postcard. So it's like both of us, it's a marketing piece for both of us, but I'm going to get them to pay for the printing of that marketing piece, or running it, or let them pay for the postage. So it's co-marketing. It helps subsidize some of your marketing fees to try to get more business, which I'm just throwing some ideas out there for you too, by the way. All right. But don't personally recommend anybody, even people you co-market with, because how does the saying go? Past performance is not a guarantee of future performance. So they may have been great for your past clients, but now their service is kind of, they're getting busier, so it's falling on the wayside, and they're not as attentive, and they're not getting back to you as much. Don't work with only one mortgage rep either, because putting all your eggs in one basket, your deals may not be all closing now. The person gets overburdened with work, and now they're falling apart. And if you put all of your clients in with that one mortgage rep, none of your deals are closing now. You shot yourself in the foot. It's not a good business decision to do. So have several that you work with. Okay. Well, look at that. You're learning all kinds of advice and information that your broker should be training you on. I'm giving you those additional tips that have nothing to do with getting your license and passing the exam, but are very helpful once you do. Okay. All right, everybody got this screenshot of this page, because this is a great study guide right here. Because everything else that you're going to be highlighting in the book is this, page 291. Let's go there and highlight this.
Last page, do we have to remember those fees and all for exams? 10,000, 5,000.
Maybe the $10,000 per day. I don't know about the 5,000 in a year in prison, but $10,000 per day, perhaps. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so on page 291, you should highlight this under Regulation Z. Do these highlights, let me know when you got it, and then we can move on to the next thing. Which, by the way, there's some interesting stuff going on. Yesterday after class, I was stuck to the computer for several hours. See, I still don't get up off this chair, and I still do stuff business related. But I was looking into it. You had a bunch of politicians. Politics is a dirty game. You know, people do stuff right. They don't get credit because the other side doesn't like them, or or they do something wrong and everybody hammers them. There's no winning in it. Um, but I told you guys about this new department in government that President Obama created called the CFPB. And here they're mentioning that TRID requires the CFPB's booklet, okay? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. When it pertains to real estate, mortgage lending and such, HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, used to regulate them and have all these rules in place. President Obama created this agency called the CFPB. They took over a lot of HUD's duties, but then they also dealt with credit cards and student loans and other kinds of stuff like that, consumer credit. And when he first created this agency, back then he wasn't president yet, but Trump was complaining about it, and so were a lot of other politicians, because they said that he basically created a new branch of government all by himself. He created this agency that is not answerable to Congress or the President of the United States. So that basically means that you just created a new branch of government. If they're not answerable to anybody, they could create their own rules, find people who violate those rules, and then collect those fines, and then they keep them. Wait a minute, that's like its own government within a government, right? So when he did become president, he fought that and had Congress fight that and managed to get it overturned, that now they do need to answer to both Congress and the president. I don't know why that was an issue to begin with. The CFPB, if you're going to create a new agency like that, they should be answerable to somebody. There should be some higher power they need to answer to. And so anyway, they created this home loan toolkit that they're talking about here. This has to deal with loans and such. We're going to be going over this in a different chapter, but while you're here and you're highlighting stuff under Regulation Z, highlight that now too. Even though this does not apply to Regulation Z, this is dealing with the home loan toolkit, which is a toolkit that helps people shop for and compare loans. Okay. Now go to the next page, 292, and at the top of the page, continue highlighting here. This toolkit in shopping for homes, as well as, let me see if it's in here. Okay, you got to mail early disclosures, basically the toolkit. You have to mail the tool, or the lender needs to mail this toolkit on how to shop for and compare loans, as well as an estimate of what those loan costs are going to be. It's called the LE, the loan estimate. There used to be a document called the GFE, the good faith estimate. Well, to justify their existence, they kind of renamed stuff and said that they created it. Okay, but these documents are already out there that HUD created. So the loan estimate needs to be put in the mail within 3 days of a completed loan application, and the borrower needs to be given a copy of this toolkit on how to shop for and compare loans when the loan application is complete. Now, when is a loan application considered complete? When the aliens have landed. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. When the aliens are present. What does that mean? Aliens is actually an acronym that stands for when the borrower provides the address of the property, that's the A, the loan amount requested, that's the L, their income, that's the I, estimated property values, that's the E, the names of all the borrowers, that's the N, and their social security numbers, that's the S. It spells aliens. It's an acronym. So when the borrower provided all this information, now the lender is required by law to provide a loan estimate and give that that booklet on how to shop for and compare loans to the consumer. All right. They have explanations here on this slide about what the APR is. I already explained it to you, and what a creditor is.
Can
Okay.
you please tell me in one line what is the difference between TILA and Regulation Z?
Well, Regulation Z is the law.
Federal law.
It is the law that implements TILA. TILA is the Truth in Lending Act. It requires full disclosure when talking about financing in an advertisement. Now, there's all kinds of rules that Regulation Z implements. TILA is one of them. Okay. Has to deal with financing and advertisements, all kinds of stuff like that. Regulating lenders. All right. So now I'm going to change the slide. Page 292. Let's continue highlighting. There's a 3-day right of rescission. Let's write next to that. Only applies to refinancing. All right. Then highlight the right of rescission does not apply to residential purchase money first mortgage loans. And what is that? Read it. Purchase money mortgage. It's mortgage money to purchase, right? Remember that? Purchase money mortgage is any loan including seller financing used to buy real estate, not to refinance. The 3-day right of rescission only applies to refinancing, not for loans to buy real estate. There's no right of rescission for that. You guys recall what a right of rescission is? It's the right to cancel a contract within a given period of time, to rescind the offer, to take it back. Okay. Now, Regulation Z provides for the strict regulation of real estate advertisements that include mortgage financing terms. General phrases like liberal terms available can be used, but if certain details are given, they must comply with this act and full disclosure must be made if you mention certain triggering terms, right? So Regulation Z applies to all credit advertising, not just for real estate. If one of the following triggering terms is used, and here they're giving some examples. Here, I just highlighted the bullet point here when they talked about the amount of percentage or down payment, the number of payments or payment periods, the amount of a payment, and a finance charge, the interest rate, perhaps, or any other charges. And then put a little arrow from that so it goes to the next page. Let me know when you got all this down, and then I'll move to the next slide. Was the next page or just lower on this page? I forget.
All set.
Yeah, all set.
So then you go, yeah, it's on the same page here. So then the arrow goes down, and then you skip the first set of bullet points and the next one that says, for example, full disclosure would be necessary if any of the following terms would be used. And now they give examples of what it would look like in an ad. If you mention 30-year loan available, or payments of $1,432, including principal and interest, or only 5% down, those are triggering terms that would trigger the full disclosure requirement. And then they give some examples below that, which would not be triggering terms that you could say in an ad that would not require full disclosure. And then here's that that term that you would have to write to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. See what I meant by we're going to be highlighting stuff that's disjointed and all over the place, or you could follow that one slide I made with all the bullet points right there that you need to study. It makes it a lot easier to study than all these disjointed highlights over the next 3 pages, right? Okay. Everybody good? Gladys, you good? You still writing?
I'm good, but I have a question. Why is not triggering terms when it says 5% annual percentage? Oh, because it's explaining it, and then $400,000 mortgage available. That's not
Yeah.
triggering. Why is that not triggering?
Because there's a $400,000 mortgage available. It doesn't say that you're going to get it. You know,
Mm.
attractive financing. These are like general phrases. You know, it's not like promising anything. Assume a 5% APR loan. That means take over someone else's loan. If it's assumable, you don't need to qualify for it. You can just take it over. Um, owner may finance. Then again, they may not. You know, terms negotiable. Okay. Financing available. Okay. Doesn't give any details about it. But if you're specific, 30-year loan available, payment of
Mm.
1432. It's very specific. Only 5% down payment. You know, they're talking about financing now. If you're talking
Okay.
specifics about the financing, these are triggering terms.
Specifics. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And then one last thing, page 293 as well. Let's highlight the penalties. Violating Regulation Z is $10,000 for each day that the violation continues. So imagine you put an ad in a real estate magazine. The shortest one I know of is 2 weeks. That's 14 days. If you violated Regulation Z in that ad, 14 days times $10,000 a day, that could put you out of business. Right? That's a hell of a fine right there. Yeah. $140,000 fine that could put you out of business. All right. So once again, here's the slide. If you didn't catch it the first time, you may want to snag it now. No, we're good. All right. So continuing on, no advertisements must be accurate. If you're going to talk about the status of a property, you must be accurate in that status. So no advertising or sign may indicate that a property has been sold until title has been passed by the to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed. Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that short sentence. Um, you know the sold sign riders that they put on top of real estate signs? They can put that thing that says sold. Okay. You can only do that if there's been a closing and now there's a new owner. But why would they want your sign now sitting on their property, especially for weeks on end? So often when you see that sold sign rider sitting on a somebody's front lawn with the sold sign rider on the for sale sign, probably shouldn't be there because the owner is probably not going to be letting you keep it there for weeks on end, right? They're now the new owner of the property. Why do they want a for sale sign still on their property? They may allow you to keep it up there for another day or two with the sold sign rider to let the public know that you sold it, you know, and they can be nice about that. But most likely, if you see those sold sign riders on a real estate sign, it's a real estate agent that probably got their own buyer, and they're trying to chase away anybody else that may have any interest in the property, so that they can get both ends of the deal for themselves. Okay, so the sold sign rider should not be used unless there's a new owner and the closing already took place, and title has passed to the buyer by delivery and acceptance. What is title?
The deed.
Nope. Title and deed are two different things.
Okay. Oh, yes. I'm thinking car. Sorry.
Yes, yes. In a car, title is the document. In real estate, title's a concept. It's the concept of ownership. Title means ownership. Think of it that way. That's probably the simplest way to study it. Title means ownership. There is no document in real estate called title. You may hear the term title work. Did you get the title work done? That means somebody did a title search of the history of that property to make sure there's no liens or encumbrances on the property. But the word title itself just means ownership. The document used to transfer one's title, one's ownership, is called a deed. So the deed is the document in real estate that transfers the ownership, the title.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
And that ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself. So this is why deeds do not need to be dated or signed by buyers. They need to be signed by the seller, because the ownership takes place upon delivery and acceptance of the piece of paper to itself. The seller gives the signed deed where the buyer is named in that deed to the buyer. The moment the buyer accepts it in their hand, they became the owner. That's why they don't need to be dated. Transfer of ownership of real estate takes place upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself. All right, now let's talk about signage a little bit. Signs. Sold sign rider, you can't have there until a transaction's closed and there's a new owner. The title's transferred. Under contract is very specific. It means an offer's been made, the seller accepted it, it went to attorney review, and now it's out of attorney review and the parties are in a legally binding contract with each other. That's what under contract means. When the parties are in a legally binding contract, it's out of attorney review. A lot of real estate brokers used to have these signs called sale pending or pending sale or just pending. You're not allowed to use them anymore. The Real Estate Commission told us this years ago because it's too subjective. What does that mean? If you see a sign that says sale pending or pending sale, I could get a listing and the very day I got that listing, sale pending. Pending we find a buyer that makes an offer that's acceptable to the seller. You know, what does that mean? Right? What is sale pending? It's too broad of an explanation. Under contract is very specific. Okay. But sale pending, you can't use those signs. So if your broker still has them in the office, tell them to get rid of them. You know, they shouldn't be using them. Coming soon, I already explained to you earlier in chapter 1, I think that means it's just a delayed showing, right? And a lot of MLSs have like a coming soon form you need to fill out, which I showed you guys once before too. And this is that form. It's basically just showing you that no showings can take place during a coming soon listing because it's nothing more than a delayed showing. And you can't delay it for more than 10 days at a pop. Title, I told you, means ownership. Here's another slide you may want to snap a picture of, take a screenshot of, where I explain what title and what deed is, what recording a document means, and what the 4 evidences of title are. All exam questions. Hint, hint. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Copy the slide. Really? It's good notes. Okay, so title is a word that means ownership, and there's no document in real estate called title, like I said. Deed is a document used to transfer that title or ownership, but it could do more than that. There's different kinds of deeds too, but we're not going to get into the different types of deeds right now. But here, I'm going to give you 2 separate definitions for deed. The first one is a simple, dumbed down, straightforward one. And the second one says the same exact thing, but it uses terminology they're more likely to use on exams. Makes you sound more educated. Okay. So a deed is a document used to transfer ownership, but is not proof of ownership. Okay, straightforward. Got it. Another way to say the same exact thing is a deed is an instrument used to convey title, but is not evidence of title. Says the same exact thing. Instrument is another word for document. Convey, another word for transfer. Evidence is another word for proof. And title is another word for ownership. Okay. Now, the definition should be a little broader than that, though, because a deed is also used not just to transfer your title, it can be used to transfer one's rights or partial ownership interest in real property, like air rights, mineral rights, subsurface rights, or partial ownership interests. The ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer until and unless the buyer decides they want to record the deed in the public records to put the world on notice of their interest in that real estate. And then they need to sign the deed and their signature needs to be acknowledged. Ooh, that term acknowledgement, you need to know what that means. Acknowledgement is basically somebody verified who you were before you signed, like a notary, a judge, an attorney, or other trusted public official, aka, get a load of this one, an elected politician. Trusted official. Yeah, that gets me too. Okay, so what is recording a document? Recording a document means adding it to the public records in your county hall of records where all of the ownership documents and land records are kept. We have 21 counties in New Jersey, and all the municipalities in each county have all of their records for the land ownership in their county courthouse. That's why you have such heavy security of sheriff's officers around that courthouse. Now, why do we record documents in the public record? Well, simple answer is to put the world on notice of our interest in the property. Whether it's you as the new owner, or whether it's somebody, a contractor that did work on your house that you did not pay them, and they want to put a lien against your property, they go record that lien in the public records associated to your land records. So now anybody who's interested in buying your property, they're going to do a title search, and it's going to come up that, hey, you owe a contractor money that you didn't pay. There's a lien on the property. That lien needs to be paid first. Now, can you buy a property that has liens on it? Sure can. It's not advised to, because if you do, liens attach to properties, not to property owners. So if you bought a property with a lien on it, the old owner is not responsible for paying it anymore. You are now the new owner. You're responsible for paying it because the lien's attached to the property, not to the property owner. So this is why we do title searches before the closing. If we uncover that there's any outstanding liens or debts or whatever on a property, the property owner would need to clear them up before we allow our buyers to go through with that closing, before their attorney would allow them to go through with that closing, to look out for their best interest. Okay, now, a deed is the document used to transfer ownership, but a deed is not proof of ownership. Okay, well then what is? Well, what are the four evidences of title? AKA, what are the four proofs of ownership? An abstract of title with attorney's opinion, a certificate of title. These are often oral or implied and not necessarily put in writing. A title insurance policy. This is the most common proof of ownership here in New Jersey. And a Torrens certificate, which is not used in New Jersey at all, but we still need to know it for exams as one of the four evidences of title. So an abstract with the abstract of title with attorney's opinion. You guys drive a car? You have a driver's license? You have insurance on your car? When you guys went to go get insurance on your car, did the insurance company want your driver's license number first? They want to do an abstract of your driving record. So what does that mean? They want to see a condensed history of your driving record. So that's what an abstract is. Abstract of title. What does title mean? Ownership. So abstract of title means it's a condensed history of all the records pertaining to the ownership of this real estate that could be found in the public records. Then an attorney reviews them and makes sure there's no liens or encumbrances or missing signatures or what have you, to make sure that you have good, clean title ownership. Certificate of title, instead of the attorney hiring somebody called an abstractor to go down and search the public records and put this abstract together, the attorney does it themselves. And then they say, oh, you got good ownership. Nothing to worry about. Now, you and I probably would not want to rely on that, but who would? Well, the mortgage lender may. They often call up the closing agent or the attorney shortly before closing and say, have we established proof of ownership yet? Do they have good, clear title? And he says, yeah, I searched the public record myself. We have good, clear title. They'll record that, and then they'll say, okay, you're good to release the funds then and go through with the closing. Title insurance policy. Well, title insurance companies have their own abstractors working for them that go down and physically search the public records. And then once they search back a minimum of 60 years, but as far back in history as the records can allow them to search, and to make sure that in no time in history there was an improper transfer of ownership, that all the owners signed the deed transferring the ownership, etc. So nobody can step forward and make a claim that that the property is theirs or that there's liens on the property. And then when the insurance company is certain that you got good, clear title, they're going to issue you insurance. And your attorney will let you know there are two types of title insurance, a buyer's policy and a lender's policy, and you should get both of them. This is so important to do. You cannot shop for a better price on title insurance. The cost is established by the state based on the value of the real estate. So the buyer's policy will cover the buyer. Like if somebody steps forward and they're able to prove that there was an improper transfer of ownership in the past and they're the rightful owner, now you have to pay them off. All right. Or maybe they want the property back. So where does that leave you? You have to turn over the property. If there was an improper transfer of ownership, that's like buying a stolen TV. But I paid for it. I don't get to keep it? No, because it's stolen property, right? Cops ain't going to let you keep that stolen property, right? Even if you paid for it and you got proof you paid for it, because it's stolen. You didn't have the right to buy it. So the same thing applies in real estate. If we could prove that there was an improper transfer of property in the past, that person steps forward and makes a claim that they want their real estate back, you have no choice but to get out and give it to them. But what about all that money I put down to buy this house and the payments that I've been making? Well, that's why you have the buyer's policy. It will reimburse you for any money out of pocket. And the lender's policy will pay off the lender any outstanding balance still owed on the loan. That's why it's very important to have these two forms of insurance. And then Torrens certificate. We don't use these here in New Jersey because we don't have a Torrens system. Some states have a Torrens system where there's a central hall of record keeping, where anytime there's a transfer of ownership of real estate, it must be recorded in that central hall of record keeping. Okay. We don't have that. In New Jersey, we have 21 counties with 21 different halls of record keeping, and there's no requirement that you record your interest in that property, your deed in the county records. You can, and it's wise that you do, highly advised that you do, but you don't have to. Okay. I also downloaded a bunch of videos from this lady. She's a real estate attorney in North Carolina, and I love her series of videos that she's come out with. I have a bunch of them I downloaded, and I have a couple I did not yet. Let me take a look. She has a video about this very topic. That's quick video that explains it. Let me see. Okay. Types of deeds, easements, HOAs, CC&Rs, how to remove them. Can you get your keys before recording of the deed? No. What is easement? How to back out of contract? Easement. Closing disclosure. Okay, I'm probably already downloaded it because I don't have the list here because I took all those lists of links from her. So I probably downloaded it. So let me minimize this slide just for a second. I'm going to find that and I'm going to share it with you. All right, now let me go through all of these videos here. Let's see. For easements, hidden fees, explain easements. Oh, here we go. She got one. What's the difference between title and a deed? I wonder if she has one about recording documents. Let me take a look here. But either way, I'm going to share this with you. Give me 1 second. Oh, you know what? It's been a while and I never even threw out the attendance poll. Let me throw out the beginning of class attendance poll here, half hour before lunch. George, you there? You want to answer that attendance poll? He's so quiet. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is actually a pretty good video. She has this great series of, she's on YouTube. She's called The Real Estate Attorney. Now, you guys may want to subscribe to her, check her out. She's got a great series of videos out there. She explains things in such a great way. She keeps it simple. And let me optimize the video. And come on, Zoom. These controls are driving me nuts. They disappear. All right.
Distinction that could cost you everything. I'm Tiffany Weber. If you are
let me jack up the volume on this because it's kind of quiet.
buying a home or already own one, there's a critical legal distinction that could cost you everything. I'm Tiffany Weber, a real estate attorney who's handled thousands of closings, and I've seen people put their investment at risk because they didn't understand the difference between title and deed. In the next 6 minutes, I'll explain exactly what title and deed mean, show you the 3 most expensive mistakes people make when confusing them, and give you a simple framework to protect your biggest investment. This isn't just legal theory. This is about protecting your family's future. Let's dive in. Let me start with a quick story. Last year, a couple came into my office in tears. They'd purchased what they thought was their dream home 3 years earlier. They'd done everything right, or so they thought. They had a deed with their names on it, framed on their wall, but now someone else was claiming ownership of their property. How is this possible? Because while they had a deed, they didn't have clear title. And that distinction is what we're talking about today. Here's the simplest way to understand the difference. Title is a concept. A deed is a document. Let me say that again because it is crucial. Title is a concept. A deed is a document. Title refers to your legal ownership rights to a property. It's not something that you can touch or hold. It's the bundle of rights that gives you the legal authority to use, occupy, sell, lease, or mortgage your property. A deed, on the other hand, is the physical legal document that transfers those ownership rights from one person to another. It's the piece of paper that serves as evidence of the transfer of title. Think of it this way. If ownership of your home was a championship, title would be winning the championship, and the deed would be the trophy they hand you afterward. The trophy proves that you won, but it's not the same as the victory itself. Now, before I show you the 3 most common and costly mistakes people make when confusing these terms, I want to address something important. Even if you're working with a real estate agent, even if you have a lawyer handling your closing, even if you've bought property before, this information matters to you. Why? Because ultimately it's your home, your money, and your future on the line. All right, here's mistake number 1. Assuming that you have a deed means you have clear title. Remember that couple I mentioned? They had a deed, but they didn't have clear title. Here's what happened. The previous owner of their home had a judgment against them that created a lien on the property. And this lien wasn't discovered during the title search because it was filed under a slightly different spelling of the name. When the creditor finally tracked down the property, they came after my client's home, even though my clients had a deed showing they owned it. Because that lien attached to the property before my clients bought it, it followed the property to the new owners. This is why title insurance is so critical because it protects you against these hidden.
Remember, I told you deeds attached to properties, not to property owners. That's what she flew over that kind of quick.
Claims, but many people decline owner's title insurance because they think, I have the deed, so I'm protected. And that is a potentially devastating mistake. Now, there's a specific way to check if your title is actually clear, which I'll share with you in just a moment. But first, let's look at the second major mistake. Mistake number 2 is confusing the types of deeds and the protections they offer. Not all deeds are created equal. There are several types and each offers different levels of protection. A general warranty deed offers the highest level of protection. The seller guarantees that they have clear title, that they will defend that title against all claims, and they will compensate the buyer for any loss. A special warranty deed only guarantees against issues that occurred during the seller's ownership, not before. And finally, a quitclaim deed offers the least protection. It simply transfers whatever interest the grantor might have with no guarantees they actually own anything at all.
Okay, when we actually go over deeds and we get to the chapter, I'm going to show this video, but I'm going to make a little modification to it because we actually go over 4 types of deeds. She's only showing the 3 types here. So I guess that's common in her state of North Carolina.
Let me give you a real example of how this can go wrong. Last summer, I had a client who acquired a vacation property without the use of an attorney using a quitclaim deed because the seller was a friend who offered a great deal. My client thought he was saving money by skipping the formal process. 6 months later, he discovered that his friend only owned 50% of the property. The other 50% belonged to the friend's ex-spouse from a divorce settlement. He only owned half the property and had to pay the ex-spouse to buy out their interest. That great deal ended up costing him an extra $300,000. I'll show you exactly how to determine what type of deed you have or need in just a minute, but first let's cover the third critical mistake. Mistake number 3 is not understanding how title affects your ability to sell or refinance. Many homeowners don't realize that title issues can prevent them from selling or refinancing, even if they have a deed in their name. I had a client who tried to refinance her home to take advantage of lower interest rates. The refinance was denied because the title search revealed that when she and her husband had divorced 5 years earlier, he never signed a deed removing his name from the title. Even though she had the house in the divorce settlement and even though she had a deed with her name on it, she didn't have clear title. She couldn't refinance until her ex-husband signed off, which gave him unexpected leverage to try to demand money for his signature. Now, here's what you really need to understand about title versus deed. This is the part that most people miss and it can cost them thousands. Title is dynamic. It can be affected by events that have nothing to do with you or your deed. These are tax liens, mechanics liens, undisclosed errors, forged documents, errors in public records. All of these things can create clouds on your title, even years after you purchased a property with a perfectly valid deed. On the other hand, your deed is static. It is a snapshot of a transaction at a specific moment in time. but your title is constantly vulnerable to outside claims and legal challenges. This is why I tell all my clients that your deed is only as good as the title it's transferring. So how do you protect yourself? Here's my 3-step framework for making sure that you truly own your property. Step 1, always get a professional title search before purchasing property. This isn't just about checking who owns the property now. It's about tracing the chain of title back decades to ensure there are no breaks, gaps, or competing claims. Step number 2 is understand what type of deed you're receiving. In most residential transactions, especially in North Carolina, you should receive a general warranty deed. Accept nothing less unless you fully understand the risks. And step number 3, purchase owner's title insurance. This is different from the lender's title insurance that your mortgage company requires because owner's title insurance protects your investment, not just the lender's. It's a one-time premium and it provides protection for as long as you or your heirs own the property. Now, if you already own a home, you might be wondering, is it too late for me to check my title or get title insurance? The answer is no, it's not too late. You can still order a title search even years after buying your property. And given what's at stake, it can be worth doing. If you're in the process of buying a home, make sure you understand exactly what type of deed you're receiving and what title insurance covers. And if you're selling a property, be clear about what warranties you're offering in your deed because they could come back to haunt you years later. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds complicated and expensive. Don't worry, if you're not a legal expert, you don't need to be. You just need to know it enough to ask the right questions and work with professionals that have your best interest at heart. And yes, there are costs involved with title searches and title insurance, but compared to the potential loss of your entire investment, these costs are minimal. It's like questioning the cost of a parachute when you're about to jump out of a plane.
You don't have a parachute? You don't have a parachute!
Understanding the difference between title and deed isn't just legal trivia, it's essential knowledge for protecting what is likely the biggest investment of your life. Title is your legal right of ownership, and the deed is the document that transfers that right. Your deed is evidence of a transaction. Your title is what gives that transaction meaning. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Never assume that having a deed means you have clear title. Always verify, always protect. If you found this information valuable, please.
Okay, so what do you guys think? That's a pretty good video, right? Pretty good explanation, pretty clear, straightforward. Well, we'll probably see it again, but a little modified when we get to a later chapter. And I have some other videos from her too about some recent changes in the law too. Pertaining to closings. There's been some changes, like a lot of people may tell you, hey, when you buy real estate, you could buy it in the name of an LLC. This would protect you against lawsuits. Anybody ever hear that before? Instead of buying real estate in your name, you buy it in the name of LLC, even if it's just the house that you're living in. This way, if somebody tries to sue you, they can't get your personal assets. They could only go after the real estate, and that's it, because the assets that are owned by that LLC. Well, there's been some changes in the law that requires a lot more disclosures if you do that. It's more of a burden on those buyers that are buying in the name of an LLC, tracking down the cash that's used for it, where the loan money came from. It has to deal with financial crimes laws. So I'll show those videos too. I got them from her actually. She's disclosing them, and this is new law that went into effect just last month. But this is too early for us to get into that. So let's get back to the slideshow. Let me put it full screen again. All right. So you guys have this screenshot about the title, deed, recording a document, and the 4 proofs or 4 evidences of title. Cheers. Okay. You'll probably see it several more times throughout this course. Look at this here. This is later on in the book. Look, this is on page 357. Deed is a written instrument by which an owner of real estate intentionally conveys their right, title, or interest in a parcel of real estate, like she was just explaining. And the owner who sells or gives the land is referred to as the grantor. They're granting their ownership to someone else. And the one who's receiving the ownership is known as the grantee. These are the types of deeds that we're going to go over. Remember, she just explained 3 types of deeds. We actually have 4 here. We have the full covenant and warranty deed, which she mentioned. That's a full warranty deed, also known as a full general warranty deed. We also have a bargain and sale deed with covenants against Grantors Act, which she referred to as a special or limited warranty deed. That's a type of deed where the owner says, I guarantee that I have done nothing to encumber this property while it's been in my possession. I don't guarantee anybody that's owned it before me. For that, do your own title search and get title insurance. And that's the most common type of deed offered here in New Jersey. And then we have the bargain and sale deed without any covenants. It's just straight bargain and sale, no words after that. A covenant, by the way, is a legal promise. Okay, so a bargain and sale deed with no promises. It's basically the owner, just the person that's selling the property says, I have the legal right to sell the property. I'm not guaranteeing you the quality of the title. This type of deed is often used in foreclosure auctions, tax sales, etc. And then we have a quit claim deed, which offers the least protections of any deed. It's a type of deed where the owner doesn't even make a claim that they have an interest in the property or ownership. By having somebody sign a quit claim deed, you're just giving up any interest. By signing it, you just give up any interest that you have in the property, not claiming that you even have any interest. Okay. This could be done like when a couple gets divorced and the judge awarded the property to one party. The other one could sign the quit claim deed just so that we have it on records and documented that you have no interest in this property anymore. You're giving up that interest by signing the quit claim deed, not saying that you had any interest to begin with. Okay. However, a quit claim deed can just as effectively transfer ownership as a full warranty deed if that owner has good full ownership interest when they signed a quit claim deed. It's just a deed that doesn't give any promises or make any claims whatsoever. Okay. Now, chain of title is shows the record of ownership in the property over a period of time. So when you do a title search and you search the public records, an abstract of title, which is a condensed history of all the documents that are found in the public record, can link one owner to the next. Each owner is a link in the chain. And if you could link one owner to the next, now we're making a chain. It's called a chain of title.
What pages?
383. See this up top here?
Thank you. No, the recording thing covers it.
Yeah, she covered that in that video, right? She brought this up too. Now, chain of title, the owner.
We talking about the drop down list is covering up the page so that we can't see what page you're on.
What drop down list?
Where our pictures are on the recording.
Well, me, the thing that says you are viewing the recording, that covers like the page for my.
Okay, do this. You could turn the slideshow, hit that box in the middle to make it full screen, and then you can grab with your mouse the videos that you're seeing. I don't know if you're seeing one video or the multi videos with a bunch of people on it or what you're seeing on your screen, but you could grab that video at the top and drag it somewhere else on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Did you move it out of the way? And the same,
No,
you could do the same
it's okay
thing
though.
We could just ask you for the page. That's cool too, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's page 383. But it's good for you to know so that you can get screenshots and not have stuff in your way too. You know, down at the bottom, well, mine, I have the settings so my Zoom controls disappear off screen when I'm not touching them. But you could also grab those Zoom controls and drag them to the top, the bottom, the sides. Same thing with the videos. Or you can minimize the videos altogether by hitting the minus sign. The one box will show only your video or the speaker's video that's highlighted. Fine. You could hit the one that shows 2 boxes that shows all of our videos or most of our videos. And then there's one that shows a grid, which shows all of the videos in a bigger box. But in a straight line or one video at a time, you could put it off to the side and it doesn't block the screen.
Thank you.
Little tutorial of Zoom there, how to move that elements around. Okay, so chain of title. Now, one thing that attorney said in her video, she said that if one of the owners didn't sign the deed in the past when they transferred the ownership, that could create a cloud in the title. Okay, clouds or gaps in the break of a gap or break in the chain of title. A gap in the chain of title or break in the chain of title means that somebody did not record their ownership documents in the public record. So you can't link one owner to the next. It shows one owner and then it shows someone else who did not buy it from that person. So there was one person in between that their documents were not recorded in the public record. They're not required to be, but it's wise that they do. Otherwise, it creates this gap in the chain, and then you need to do a little more research to find out why is there that gap. We want to make sure there's no clouds on the title. She used that term in their video, clouds on the title. A cloud on the title is anything. Think of a dark thunderstorm cloud, like that dark cartoon thunderstorm cloud floating only over your house. Okay. Would you want to buy a house that has a thunderstorm cloud hovering over it all the time? No. It's an indication that there's some sort of a problem there. Okay. So you want to clear that cloud up so you can let the sun shine in before you buy that house. So the cloud on the title is just an indication. Title meaning ownership, cloud on title, there's a problem with the ownership. That's how we walk ourselves through the meanings of these terms. Okay. We define them in our heads like this. Clouds on the title. Title's ownership. You don't want no dark thunderstorm cloud of hovering over your ownership. That indicates there may be a problem. Okay. So that's what term cloud on title means. Now, these are gaps in the chain of title could create clouds on the title. And to commonly bridge these gaps, we could use a quitclaim deed or a suit to quiet title. Sometimes it may be necessary to produce your evidence in court to a judge and have them rule whether you got the good, clear title and ownership of the property or not. Okay. And once again, here are the 4 evidences of title. I wrote here proof of ownership next to that. And next to Torrance certificate, right, not used in New Jersey. And a deed is not proof of title. Looks like they made is not a run-on word.
Suit to quiet title.
Phew, what's that? What did you say? I'm sorry.
Suit to quiet title. In the first paragraph. What's that?
Yes. It's a lawsuit where you go before a court to establish that you have good, clear title and you are the current owner of the property. And you bring all your documents to the court so the judge can render that decision. Because you may want somebody to sign a quitclaim deed, but what if that person's dead? So having a suit to quiet title, sometimes you bring your evidence before a judge and then a judge would examine it, the whole entirety of the situation and make a decision whether you got good, clear title or not. So they're quieting title. Title is ownership. They're trying to quiet the rumblings of anybody who may make claims of ownership in the future. Think of it that way. I know we're going over this stuff way too early, but that's because they mentioned it here in chapter 2. So we're going over all these terms and we're going a little bit off track in advance, but that's a good thing. Instead of waiting till the last day of class to go over this stuff, we're going over it early. So now when we go over throughout the rest of the course, we have the knowledge of what the meanings of these words are that they're going to keep coming up on us. I hate teaching a course and mentioning words before I define and explain what they mean, because now you're going to be scratching your head. What does that mean? So it's easier to teach by showing you this stuff. It's not just my OCD. Okay. Everybody good? Everybody got all these notes and highlights? Or are you still taking them?
All set.
Okay. All right, so back to page 21 in chapter 2. An offer of a free item or gift must be genuinely free with no strings attached. If you offer anything, can you ever offer anything to the public for free? Like a free drink, glass of water, soda, cookies, pizza? Sure.
Yes.
But whoever you offer it to, you need to offer it to everybody. If you offer something for free to the public, you have to offer it to everybody, not just to people who are going to be doing business with you as a condition to get the free stuff. So like if you're, can you pay for the appraisal on a property for your client? Well, if you do, you better do it. You better make that offer to everybody, whether they do business with you or not. You're going to be paying for appraisals. Yeah, that gets kind of pricey. So you're probably not going to do that. Glass of water, maybe one thing, but those things is a different story. So anytime you offer something for free, it has to be genuinely free with no strings attached. Now, the law has been amended and changed in 2019 here that does allow you to offer things for free to the public, but only to those who do business with strings attached. However, we can't do that until the Real Estate Commission puts a system in place for tracking who's offering free stuff and what are the terms and conditions. And as of today, they still have not done that. So it still goes according to the old rule, even though they amended the law in 2019 that addresses the free gifts or discounted items by licensees, which was later then adopted in 2021, actually. Okay, so it was officially adopted in 2021. We're in 2026 now, but you still can't do it until the Real Estate Commission puts rules into place. See, it says the amendment further provides that it'll be not going to effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement the revised statutory provision. So that means that you could still offer stuff for free, but with no strings attached.
Well, in the questions, right? In the review questions, in 14, it says to encourage attendance, a real estate firm holds a door prize drawing at a weekend open house. It is showing what, if anything, about this practice is discussed in the rules. All right, that's
Can
me.
you, okay, we didn't even get to that yet. Can you offer, can you use a contest, lottery, game, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate? No, you cannot. New Jersey's Gaming Commission may have an issue with that. Remember, you live in New Jersey. We are, you know, I just seen a report yesterday or the day before. New Jersey is the least free state in the United States. With all of our taxing and regulations and permits for this and that and everything, you know, we're so regulated. I mean, we got the Gaming Commission that's going to come down on you like a ton of bricks if you try doing that. You know, so that's why. Now, that was a pretty good question you brought up, though, because if it was worded differently, if it said a broker's open house, does it say broker's open house there at all or no?
To encourage attendance, a real estate firm holds a door prize drawing at a weekend open house.
Okay, all right.
It is
So
shown.
no, that's just a regular open house open to the public. Now, if it was a broker's open house, it's not open to the public. It's only open to other real estate licensees. We offer stuff like that all the time. Offer them a drawing for a free tablet or a TV or something as an encouragement for other agents from other agencies to come and view the open house. Okay. Then they could see if that's a property that maybe their clients, maybe they have a client that may be interested in. Okay. So that's allowed. But the regular open house is not, but the broker open house is.
Okay.
because that's not open to the public. It's only open to licensees. Okay. Now, we can't offer free appraisals because we are not licensed appraisers. Appraising is a profession that requires licensure to value real estate. However, we as real estate professionals can help people value real estate by offering free CMAs or BPOs. A BPO is a broker price opinion. We usually do those for lenders in exchange for a fee. It's similar to an appraisal, but it should never be called one. Okay, because appraisals are done by appraisers who are licensed to perform those acts. We usually offer CMAs, comparative market analysis, to the general public, buyers and sellers, to help them value properties. Now, this line was removed from the 18th version book. Is actually paragraph, not 18th version, 17th book was omitted by mistake. Okay, so here's a shot from the 17th version book. Advertisements that offer free appraisals are prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis CMA is allowed, or BPO. So basically that's what I wrote up here. So if you wrote it here, that's fine.
What I'm looking at it, but I can't see it. CMA, comparative market analysis. Got it.
Correct. And that's just how we help people price homes. It's similar to an appraisal. It looks like an appraisal that an appraiser would do. However, it's done by a real estate licensee, not an appraiser, not a licensed appraiser.
We're allowed to do this.
We're allowed to do CMAs, not appraisals. Don't ever call it an appraisal. Okay. You have exam questions on this, because in the past, real estate agents were always telling people, because it's easier just to tell you, instead of saying, hey, I could give you a CMA. It's similar to an appraisal, but that's done by a licensed appraiser, but I'm not a licensed appraiser. But so it's a way for me to value the property for you. That's a big mouthful. So a lot of real estate agents get lazy and they just say, hey, I could give you an appraisal on your property. Oh, no, you cannot. You're not a licensed appraiser. Don't say that. Especially don't put it in writing either. Okay, because our industry got sued by the appraising industry because so many agents were getting lazy. Instead of offering CMAs and explaining what a CMA is, we just said, I could give you an appraisal so you know how much your home is worth. No. How about you say, I could give you a CMA so you know how much your home is worth? Well, what's a CMA? It's a comparative market analysis, comparative pricing analysis, call it whatever the hell you want. I'm going to give you a valuation of your property, but it's not an appraisal, because appraisals can only be done by licensed appraisers, and I am not a licensed appraiser. So this is actually a tool I often use in sending out postcards, marketing to people, offering them a free, I make it look like a certificate with a weaved type of material on the postcard with golden inlay, makes it look all fancy. And this is good for one free comparative market analysis, CMA, to learn how much your home is worth in the current market. Okay, and you send that out to people, and if people are interested in wanting to know how much their home is worth for some reason, usually because they want to sell, well, that's your foot in the door to get a seller and to get a listing. Moving on. So offering a free appraisal instead of a CMA or price analysis is not allowed. We're not licensed appraisers and cannot offer appraisals. We can offer free CMA or a BPO, but they should never be called appraisals and should never be considered as such. CMAs, comparative analysis, offered to the public, usually for free to help determine the value for sellers and buyers. BPOs are broker price opinions offered to lenders, usually for a fee. Remember, it must be paid through your broker. You can't be paid directly by that lender to do it. And here's a little tip for you. To sharpen your valuation skills, try taking a CMA class offered by a group of New Jersey appraisers, customized for real estate professionals from Ottawa, OTTEAU.com. This is a group of appraisers that created these classes for us. I highly recommend it. Top producing agents usually take this class and take it often. This is not a bad slide to add too, because I talk about what a CMA is, what a BPO is, how it should never be considered an appraisal, and a tip to learn how to do the CMAs. Instead of relying on your broker to do it, who probably doesn't know how to do it very well or have much practice, you could actually have a group of appraisers training you. Who do you think can train you better to value a property, your broker or an appraiser?
Appraiser, of course.
An appraiser, right?
That's what they
So,
do.
yeah, get taught by a licensed appraiser, and then they give you all kinds of materials and presentations and little guides that can help you along the way too, that you could get to keep. I try to take this class every year if I can. I subscribe to them. I also try to take their seasonal workshops that we have 4 seasons a year. They have seasonal workshops which touch on appraisals or touch on doing CMAs, but they more so talk about the coming season's market conditions, so that you could help be a better agent, more fine-tuned into what to expect based on things that are happening globally in the world, in our country, and in our state that affect the real estate market. These guys do great presentations on that stuff. And remember, taking these classes are tax deductible, and they usually offer CE credits. Okay. All right. So let's do a recap. This is all stuff we already took notes on. It was broken. I broke this down into individual slides, each one of these sections, but this is all stuff we went over. We talked about home warranties and ads, and talking about offering rebates to the buyers and letting them know that they need to possibly pay taxes, so to consult with a tax professional. We learned about Regulation Z implements TILA, the Truth in Lending Act, and it says that we may not indiscriminately promise financing and advertisements. We have to fully disclose all the terms and conditions when we talk about financing in an ad. No advertising or sign can indicate that a property's been sold until the title is actually transferred. We also learned that the word title means ownership, and there's no document in real estate called title. That title, that ownership, is transferred by a deed upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself. But a deed is not proof of ownership. We learned that there was 4 evidences of title, 4 proofs of ownership. We also learned that you could offer free stuff to the public, but when you offer it for free, it has to be genuinely free with no strings attached. Even though a law was changed and implemented in 2021 that allows licensees to offer free stuff only to people who are going to do work with you. But that's only after the Real Estate Commission adopts rules on how to implement that, and they still haven't done that. And we can never offer appraisals to the public because we're not licensed appraisers, but we can do CMAs for free or BPOs, broker price opinions. All right. Over the years, I've had very few, but I've had some students ask if they could get paid their commission through their broker through an LLC. The real estate licensee says, I want to create an LLC so that I could get paid my commissions through an LLC. I have no idea why you want to do that. Maybe there's some sort of a tax trick to it. I don't know. So the law was actually revised to allow a real estate agent to get paid through an LLC that they create. However, this would require the LLC to be licensed. So now you need to pay every 2 years to renew your license and your LLC's license. And your LLC needs to be registered to you and on file with the Real Estate Commission so that they could link the two together, that when this LLC gets paid a commission, it's getting paid to you.
It seemed like it's too much.
Yeah, you don't need to know all of that for exams, but this is just sometimes people ask questions about this crap in class, so I brought it up. But you did ask about this just recently, didn't you? You
Yeah.
cannot use a lottery or games of chance to sell real estate in New Jersey. So there's the answer to your question, right? About doing that raffle at the open house. If offering anything free to the public, it also has to be genuinely free, no strings attached, yada, yada. Okay, so I basically explained all this that talks about how the law changed that could make it conditional based on them doing business with you. But I summarized everything in just these 2 paragraphs within this box, or 2 sentences. Any let me see. Any advertisement that mentions a specific commission rate or amount must also state that in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable to show that you do not engage in an illegal practice called price fixing. Okay. So, for instance, let's just say that you plan on offering a low commission. Say, hey, I'll sell your house for this low percentage rate. And now you want to brag about that because you think it's going to get you the volume of business, right? So you advertise, I take listings at only 3%. Well, even though you said 3%, you mentioned the commission rate or amount. Now in that ad, you also need to write, in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable. Now, of course, anybody who sees that ad is going to be like 3% and it's still negotiable. No, that's not what I meant. But that's the wording you need to use. But it causes a little confusion with the public because they see you advertise 3%, but then it says that all commissions are negotiable. People think they could negotiate down from that. Say, no, by using that statement, in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable, it means that my fee that I'm advertising was not established by an agreement with other firms or trade associations or the real estate commission or any MLS, because we don't engage in an illegal practice known as price fixing. So that little disclosure that you're required to place in ads now sometimes can get a little confusing and requires more explanation for the public when they call up and they try to negotiate on it. Okay. So everybody see this and got that highlighted? Maybe wrote a little note there to show we're not engaging in illegal price fixing. See page 55, Sherman Antitrust Act. And then here's that slide again about the Sherman Antitrust Act and price fixing and all, which we already went over and we'll go over again in next chapter. So I kind of skip over this. Remember, price fixing is just when competing firms, when 2 agents from competing firms talk with each other about the fees they charge the public. And you shouldn't be doing that. And now we're going to go over a bunch of different signs. You don't need to know this for exams. I'm just going to show it to you because social media tends to dumb people down. I've seen these signs and placards and in social media posts on different websites, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, people saying, hey, if you see, your city's making these marks or the fire officials, they're being racist and putting marks on people's houses that are poor or people of color. They're putting these marks on people's houses. It's a racist thing that they do in communities, just to give you a heads up. Those people are morons, okay? Because what this is something that the fire official, the fire inspector is required by law to do, since something happened on December 3rd, 1999. 6 firefighters died inside an abandoned 6th-floor warehouse. The firefighters entered a structure and became disoriented and unable to escape that maze-like interior before multiple collapses occurred. And following that disaster where all those firemen got killed, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, OSHA, They recommended that fire departments should identify dangerous vacant buildings by affixing warning placards to entrance doorways and other openings where firefighters may enter. So that's what this is about. Okay. So if you ever see, this could be a sign like this, or it could be done with spray paint. You know, spray paint's usually after a disaster occurred already. Otherwise, they usually don't paint on people's houses. They'll just take these signs. If you just see a sign that's just a box like this, it means it's a vacant property and there's no dangerous conditions. You may enter to fight fires. If it has a single line through it, it says use caution. There may be hazardous conditions inside. And if it has an X, a box with an X through it, it's telling the firefighters, do not enter this building to fight fires except at your own risk, only for the purpose of protecting the life of people that may be inside. Here's another version of that sign. And another variation where you could see it's actually affixed to buildings. So you could see on this one why it's actually there. You know, it was actually a hazard. So sometimes they would spray paint it on buildings like this. Over here, look, you even got a Coldwell Banker sign. This property's for sale here. These are vacant, boarded up houses. They're letting firefighters know. This one actually has dangerous conditions. There may be, you could step through the floor and collapse, you know. So fight the fire only from outside. Don't go inside. This one, just use extreme caution. You see it put on this house. Or it could look like this. This building is declared unsafe for human occupancy. Now, this one was actually done in my town in Linden after there was an incident where the furnace got serviced before winter, and the exhaust pipe got dislodged and was spewing the toxic gases into the house. And right under where the bedroom was for the children of the house. And one child, both children fell into comas and one died, actually. So one died and the other one was in a coma because of this. So the inspector put this on the fire inspector, fire marshal put this on the door that nobody's to enter this building until the problem is fixed and it's been re-inspected. Or you got this one with no lines. It means it's vacant, safe to enter. Ever see one of these? You probably saw it on a public building or school, right? This is something from the 60s, talking about the that you have a nuclear fallout shelter. You know, when there was always the threat of like the Cuban War crisis and all that stuff. We had those nuclear threats of nuclear war with Russia and everything back in the 60s. So the government actually gave people who have these large buildings that may have deep basements with thick walls, if they create fallout shelters for the general public, to fix these signs, and they get tax breaks.
Is it kind of bunker?
Yeah,
No.
it's kind of like a bunker, some sort of a shelter for you. But in reality, we know now that, you know, if a nuclear bomb hits, you know, you may be safe underground, but when you come out, I mean, that radiation is going to, it's got to clear up. It'll be there for years, you know, the radiation there. And, you know, you're going to come out and squirrels have 3 heads, you know. You're going to have all kinds of issues. You still got the air you're breathing in that's coming in, you know, but you may be better off just dying in that nuclear attack than trying to live through it. But anyway, this is a sign where you get tax breaks. This was created in 1962, these metal signs. And over 1 million adhesive stickers were manufactured and distributed across the country at a total cost of $700,000, the equivalent of $6 million in 2020. Anyway, it lets people know where there's a fallout shelter. You ever see a sign like this? You've probably seen them on tractor trailers or gas trucks. But you could see them on fences and buildings too. When you get involved in real estate, you may see these on buildings. Actually, next time you go through the Taco Bell drive-through, you know that door on the back that gets you to their storage room or wherever they keep those gases and such? you probably see this sign on the door, because it shows you there may be some sort of a chemicals there, and they have to disclose what they are. So basically, they are color coded and they are labeled by numbers. The higher the number, the higher the risk. The clear white box at the bottom actually has letters that's put into it. These are special hazards like oxidizers or things that are reactive to oxygen. They could be explosive if they come in touch with water. So you have OX for oxidizers, SA, and W with a line through it. These are special hazards. Let's see, white special hazards such as oxidizers, water reactive, or asphyxiating gases. Okay. Red is flammability, blue is some sort of a health hazard, and yellow means it's reactive or unstable. Okay, we're going to talk about commission rebates, but your stomachs may be grumbling a little bit because it's almost a half hour past lunch, right? So,
Recording in progress.
Commission rebates. Only a buyer of a primary residence can receive a rebate. And a primary residence, that's the main house that you live out of. It's not a second home, vacation home, or investment property. Rebates, they have to be a direct reduction from the commission due to your agency. You don't pay the rebates out of your pocket. You don't cut the check. The closing agent does, okay? It's very important. You can get in trouble if you do it the wrong way. Rebates can only be offered in the form of a credit or check at closing. They're paid by the closing agent, not the real estate licensee. It must be in writing from the start of the business relationship that you're offering a rebate and how much that rebate's going to be. And you can only offer rebates if your broker allows it. All parties have to be aware that the rebate is being offered. And lenders can forbid offering rebates because it could be a factor like the type of loan that has restrictions on it that wouldn't allow the rebate. So even if you offer your client a rebate, the lender could say no. This is why everybody in a transaction needs to be made aware rebates being offered. I suggest, yeah.
Sorry, rebates is for the buyer or the seller?
Buyer.
Buyer. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I suggest that even though you need to make all parties aware that a rebate's being offered, I suggest that you let them know during attorney review, not before the offer is accepted, because that could mess up your negotiations. Because if a seller knows that a buyer is getting a rebate, they could be like, well, they can afford to pay more. So don't let all parties know that there's a rebate until after the offer is accepted. And then during attorney review, you can let the attorneys know that rebates are being, that you're offering a rebate to the buyer, and to make sure that's added in during attorney review. That way everybody knows and it's on paper. Okay. Rebates can't be dependent on a lottery, contest, game, or drawing either. A licensee can only offer rebates if your broker allows it. And when you advertise rebates, you have to let buyers know to consult a tax professional about the consequences of receiving a rebate, to consult with a tax professional and let them know that they may have to pay taxes on that money they receive.
If you don't do an attorney review, when do you let the person know about the rebate?
If you're not doing attorney review, after the offer is accepted.
After the offer, okay.
Yeah. After the offer is accepted, and you wait 3 days. 3 days so that the contract is legal and binding. And then you let them know. Okay. All right. Any agreement between competing offices to establish standard commission rates is forbidden, because that's a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. It's price fixing, right? So there's price fixing yet again. Think it's on exam? All right. Here's just a discriminatory commission split advisory. Not so much an issue these days, but it was quite a few years back. If you got there used to be a company called YHD, Your Home Direct, and then they changed their name to Foxtons. They were from Britain. They came over here. They were basically a mortgage company, but they opened up a real estate company so that they could get their own leads instead of sucking up to other real estate offices. Hey, do you have any clients that we could qualify for a mortgage? So they opened up their own real estate company. They could care less about the real estate side of the business of making money. They were just using that as a way to get clients who need loans. So they offered really low commissions for getting for selling people's properties. I think they charged 2% at the beginning, and then they couldn't sustain that, so they raised it to 3%. Even though most of their listings were at 4%. So 3% they advertised. They drove around these little cars, and they had a flower on the side of the door that had 3% there in the center. A lot of real estate agents hated them because when they get listings, they get them at only 3%. And then any buyers that came in, if you brought in a buyer, they would split that commission with you and you'd get 1.5%. Whereas a lot of other agents may be charging 6%, and then they split the commission and they're offering 3%. So they're only getting half when they deal with Foxtons. Right? As an example for this company that's now out of business. That's the only reason why I'm bringing them up by name. So a lot of real estate agents said, screw that. If you're only offering 1.5%, we're going to offer reciprocal commissions. That means if you offer 1.5%, we're only going to offer you 1.5%. But those agents misunderstood the rule. The rule is if you are offering 50%, if you are offered 50% by another brokerage as the commission split, then you need to offer 50% of whatever your commission is. It's not that they're offering you 1.5%, so you're going to give them 1.5%. That's less than 50% of the total commission that you're collecting, which is 6%. Okay, they're offering you 50% of their total, which was 3%. So they're offering you half of that, which is 1.5%. So by you collecting 6% and offering them only 1.5%, you're offering them less than half. So that was considered discriminatory commission split. So the Real Estate Commission put out an advisory on that. You're not allowed to do that. And they created an administrative code rule about it, 11.5-7.5. Okay. Title 11, Chapter 5-7.5. Okay. You don't need to know
Do
this
we
for exam. No. But if this ever pops up again, this type of a situation, you should need to know that don't do this kind of splitting because, hey, they're offering you only this smaller amount, so you could do that. You have to offer 50% of what you're whatever they're offering, All right. Now, if you violate licensing law, you break any of the rules of the Real Estate Commission or the statutes, what can happen to you? How can you be fined? What can happen to your license? Well, let's do these highlights on page 22. And after you got the highlights, I'm going to move to the next page because I like my notes better on it. Like this. Over here, they say, the commission can place your license on probation, or they could suspend a license, suspension. You can't define a word with the same word, okay? So, or they could revoke your license completely, revocation, okay? That doesn't tell you what the word means, okay? In addition, fines range up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent offenses. With 3 or more violations, license will likely be revoked. The New Jersey Real Estate Commission reserves the right to permanently revoke a real estate license on a first offense, depending on what it was that you did, right? And this is on the top of the next page in the version 18 book, which you have. Note that the person filing charges is known as the complainant, while the person being investigated is known as the respondent. They need to respond to the complaint. All right. Let me go to the next slide, I have all my notes and a little bit more. So we have the notes from the previous page, which you highlighted, plus a little bit more. So these are the penalties for violating licensing law. If you would like to take a screenshot, go for it. Probation is a strong warning and a close observation by the licensing authority that they're going to keep an eye on you. Okay? That's what probation is. But you could still work if your license is on probation. If it's suspended, that's a temporary lifting of a license in which time you cannot work for a period of time. Revocation is the license is taken away, and this could be for a period of time or life. So then how is revocation different than suspension? It has to deal more with the consequences of your license. So if you could take away somebody's license for a certain period of time by revocation, only temporarily revoking it, how's that different than suspension? Well, say that you do something that's pretty bad. They temporarily take away your license. And so let's say you have a broker salesperson license. If they suspend the license, it's only for a little period of time. When the suspension is done, you get your license back as it was. If they revoke your license for a certain period of time and you got a broker salesperson license, when they give you back the license, they may not give it back as a broker salesperson, but they may knock it down to a salesperson. So you'd have to go back through the whole process to get a broker salesperson's license again. Okay? That's wherein lies the differences there. Now, fines can also be imposed. Fines can be imposed, or they could take actions against your license, or both. Now, let's see, the fines for violating licensing law are up to $5,000 for a first offense. That doesn't mean it's $5,000. They could give you a $50 fine just to make it sting a little bit. You know, hey, it's a little slap on the wrist. Don't do that again. You know?
Question.
Yeah.
If someone's license get revoked for a lifetime, is he still eligible to take the course again from the start? No.
For life.
For life, he cannot. Okay, do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do something bad for that to happen, you know? And up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. Okay, so these are the penalties if you violate licensing law. The Real Estate Commission can give you up to a $5,000 fine for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. Now, if you're dealing in timeshares are where it's a shared ownership where you maybe own the property maybe a week out of the year. This is common with like vacation resorts and stuff. You could have like a condo where you and 52 other owners or 51 other owners, you know, own a condo, right? You own it for 1 week out of the year, you know. Well, if you're dealing in timeshares and you violate any of the laws pertaining to timeshares or subdivided lands, the minimum fine is $250 with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. Okay. I don't think you're going to get a question on those fines for exam. Probably just the regular offenses. Okay. Now, of course, the state treasurer monitors all the money and keeps track of all the money in the state, so fines are turned over to them. Now, is there a process? Is there a procedure? Do they just take action against your license and fine you? Well, no, there's a procedure. They give you a 10-day advance notice to attend a hearing in Trenton via the mail. Then the results can be appealed to the New Jersey Superior Court if you're not happy with the outcome. And brokers can also be disciplined. Your broker can also be disciplined if they had guilty knowledge. Ooh, that's a term you need to know as well. We'll have a definition for that on the next slide. Guilty knowledge is basically that your broker knew that you were doing something wrong and they made no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. Now, guilty knowledge could also mean maybe the broker did not know that you were doing something wrong, but that's not an excuse. The Real Estate Commission could say, well, should you have known? Because you're supposed to be providing guidance and direction to these people. So if the broker should have known what their agents were doing and didn't, and they did something wrong, the broker can still be held liable as well as you. That doesn't forgive you for doing something wrong. That just means that the broker could be held liable for it as well. Okay. So when it pertains to violations, licensees must notify the real estate commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime. Repeat offenders with 3 or more violations may have their licenses revoked for life. Serious offenses may result in license suspension until the case is resolved. You know, in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty for crimes, right? However, when the state issues you a real estate license, it's more like a privilege, kind of like your driver's license is a privilege. You know, they could revoke it if you, depending on what you do, right? They could suspend it. Now, this is also your livelihood, though. So why can they just suspend your license before the case is resolved? Well, if there's a serious issue like rape, murder, robbery, kidnapping, or criminal conspiracy, these are serious issues. And if the real estate commission just allowed you to continue working until there's a resolution to this accusation, allowing you to have keys to get into the lock boxes and get the keys to houses and get into people's houses, giving you the opportunity to commit such a crime again, if you did that, the real estate commission would be culpable for allowing you that continued access. So what they'll do is they'll suspend your license for serious crime accusations until there's an outcome to the case. And then if you're innocent, they'll give you the license back to work. And if not, they'll keep it. All right. Now, remember, I keep showing you all these things that happened on the disciplinary actions page of the Real Estate Commission's website. Here, I'll share that link with you. If you guys want to, you could peruse through them. I know on some older ones, you know, back in the day when they started the Housewives program, you know what I'm talking about? Like the Housewives of New Jersey, the Housewives of Atlanta, the Housewives of this and that. Well, they started that program in New Jersey. And there was some funky stuff that happened that ended up in a real estate agent and their broker getting fines and license suspensions over it. They actually had a client that was on that show, and they were filming, and they were showing this beautiful, big, expensive home. They and the lady wanted to come in and try on her wedding dresses and do all this and that. They brought a whole film crew in there, and they were filming an episode in a house that the agent used her lockbox key to get into and show. They never got the permission of the property owner to do it. And they were keeping other agents from coming in and showing, and including one of the relatives, which was a neighbor. They wouldn't allow them into the house. And so they filed a complaint with the real estate commission about it. And both the broker and their agent got in trouble. All right. You can't just use somebody's house to film a movie because it's a beautiful house and it's a big mansion. You want to play pretend, you know, that you're living large, you know, which is what they did on that Housewives of New Jersey. It's an older episode, but it's in that database. You can still go back and see it. Anyway, here is that link to the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page, like I have down here on the bottom of this slide. By the way, this slide, you should probably snap a picture of it because it has a lot of information all in one place instead of what we're going to highlight, what you just highlighted on the previous slide, as well as what you're going to highlight for the rest of the stuff, which is on other pages. Okay, so let me switch the page now. And okay, so how does the fines work? If you get fined, you could have multiple infractions, multiple violations in one transaction. If you have 5 violations in one transaction, how much can the Real Estate Commission fine you? Well, it's up to $5,000 for the first offense and up to $10,000 for each subsequent offense. So $5,000 for the first, $10,000 for the second, $10,000 for the third, $10,000 for the fourth, $10,000 for the fifth. That's 10, 20, 30, 40, $45,000. If you had 5 violations and they were going to fine you the maximum amount for each violation, you could be fined $45,000. That's the way that it works. Okay. All right. So let's highlight the procedure about what they could do if you violate licensing law here. This is on page 23. Commission can provide licensees with at least 10 days advance notice of a hearing. And then this is the definition of guilty knowledge. Although I got a better one on the next slide, you can highlight this here. And there's also a separate thing. This is not just one highlight. Here's the definition, the book's definition of guilty knowledge, but also what happens to your license if your broker's license gets suspended or revoked? Well, remember, you can't get your license unless you're activated under a sponsoring licensed broker. So if they lose their license or it gets suspended, you can't work. Not until that broker gets their license back. The broker is replaced with someone else who's got a good license, or you transfer your license to another brokerage. They suspend your license too, not because you did anything wrong, but you can't work unsupervised by an unlicensed broker who doesn't have an active license, right? And then down the bottom here, they tell you just about that. They could immediately suspend your license if you're awaiting trial for serious crimes. All that. So all that stuff that was on that one slide here, it's spread out once again on several pages through your highlighting here and there and the other place. This is why I tell you sometimes my notes, sometimes my slides are better just to snap a picture of them and study those as your notes, because this stuff's spread all over. Okay. Everybody good? Everybody got the highlights? All right. Guilty knowledge. Here's a good definition for you. It's when a broker is aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong and makes no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. The broker can be held just as liable as the agent who did whatever was wrong. Now, what happens to your license if your broker loses theirs? Okay, here I break it down in a more easy to understand explanation versus here. It says, when brokers' licenses are suspended or revoked, their salesperson's licenses are suspended until the end of the current license period. During that time, salespeople are free to affiliate with another broker and can obtain a reissued license at no charge. They made the definition better than previous versions of this book, but still could be improved a little bit. So I have written here, all the agents under that broker have their licenses suspended because they cannot work unsupervised. Licensees can wait until the broker either gets their license back, the broker is replaced with one who's actively licensed, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker. The Real Estate Commission will waive the fee to reissue and transfer the license elsewhere because it's not due to your wrongdoing. So they don't want to penalize you for that.
But then the salesperson history is impacted, no?
No, because you didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing on your record that, your license was suspended because you didn't do nothing wrong. It's just how it shows in the active database. Like if you search online right now at any given point, right now you're active.
Okay.
Say there's some year down the road, I don't know, you die, you don't renew the licenses, the database still shows your name until you don't renew it, and then it just shows inactive, and then it shows after that it shows expired.
So can we say that salesperson's license is suspended with that broker, with that particular broker?
You don't need to get into the details that dig that deep into the details. It doesn't go on your permanent record. Okay.
Okay.
It's just a snapshot in time right now. Okay. If you did something wrong and it was suspended, well, that'll be on the Real Estate Commission's website in the permanent record. Okay. Your broker, the fact that your broker lost their license or suspended it, that'll be in the permanent record in that disciplinary actions page. But it won't have you and every agent in that office listed as having their license suspended. Okay. Because you guys didn't do nothing wrong. All right. And it does happen. Look, here's this guy, Leo Fliger. How do you pronounce that? Fliger. Licensed real estate broker in Bergen County in 2023. He failed to ensure a timely renewal of the brokerage's license. In 2021 to 2023 licensing cycle, he engaged in conduct demonstrating incompetency because he failed to renew his own broker's license and the company's license while he had licensees working under him. So he got in trouble for that because he's basically getting all of his agents in trouble, because he didn't have an active license at the time. So he got a $5,000 fine. So here's a bunch of other reasons why people can get fined or have sanctions on their licenses. On page 23, there's a list here of violations. Making false promises or substantial misrepresentations, acting for more than one broker, acting for more than one party in a transaction without the knowledge of all parties thereof. What do we call that? Undisclosed dual agency, right? Pursuing a flagrant and continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. Failure to account for or pay over money belonging to others. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith. Failure to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing. What do you call that? That when you got to give them a copy of the contract at the time of signing, what do you call that?
Duplicate original.
Yes, a duplicate original. Or failure to provide specific or specify an expiration date in a listing. Using a lottery, contest, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. That's not allowed in New Jersey. Collecting a commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity for pay. Well, they call it consideration. For instance, acting as an attorney and the broker on the same transaction. Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization if you're not a member of it. That also applies to, well, like if you win a award like the Circle of Excellence Award, okay, but they notify you, hey, you're going to be getting the Circle of Excellence Award, you qualified for it, but then they didn't give it to you yet because the award ceremony never happened. You can't go start advertising that you're a Circle of Excellence Award winner because you actually did not get it yet. So that's a lie. Technicality, but it's a lie nonetheless because you didn't get it yet. They just notified you you're going to. So you could get in trouble if you advertise it early. Okay. Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer. That's a buyer's rebate. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. As a salesperson or broker salesperson, accepting any commission or valuable consideration like gifts and such from anyone except your employing broker. Okay. So don't be accepting some fancy, expensive handbags or shoes or leather trench coats or something like that could be of value, or these big, expensive, gaudy watches, as a way to try to get paid without going through your broker. That'll get you in trouble too. You're not that slick. It's been done before and people get caught. Gift cards, don't go doing that. Procuring a real estate license through fraud or deceit. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, what did this guy do? He did something. Let me see. On the qualifying questionnaire with the renewal of his license, he procured a license by fraud, misrepresentation, or deceit by misrepresenting the status of his court-ordered child support. Okay, so they do catch you on these things. Commingling the licensee's own money with that of the clients and customers, or failure to maintain and promptly deposit others' money in a special escrow or trust account. Your clients give you money. What do you got to do with it?
To the escrow account. Give it to
Give
the
it to your
broker.
broker. Give it to your
You give it to,
broker.
yeah, you give it to your broker because they're maintaining the escrow account, but you give it to the broker how soon?
Immediately.
Immediately, because how long does your broker have to put it in the escrow account?
5 days. Within 5 days.
5 business days from the time that you received it, not from the time that you gave it to them. Correct. Selling property in which a licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest and the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. That's so common that agents forgot to do that they put a checkbox on our standard contracts now. Is the owner or buyer in this transaction a real estate licensee? Yes or no? And then you have to check off which license type. Okay. Buying a property without disclosing in the contract of sale. Okay, I just read that. Violating any of the rules and regulations of rental practices. Oh, wait. No, these are 2 separate ones I missed here. Buying a property without disclosing in the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker, buyer or seller. The previous one said selling property where the licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest. That could also mean the relationships of the parties. So, for instance, you're married, your spouse owns a house, and it's only in their name, and they're selling it, and you're selling it for them. You have to specify in the contract of sale that you are a real estate licensee and the seller is your husband or wife. Okay. I actually have that going on right now. Last night, I got a phone call like 11 p.m. from some lady trying to plead her way out and get out of exclusive buyer's agency agreement that one of my agents signed with her son. So instead of her son calling, she's calling up and trying to plead and whine and make excuses. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. I was like, my agent already told me. They called up on his listing of his wife's property that he was selling. He told them it was the wife's property. They even had it written in the contract. So the lady was lying to me that, oh, he didn't, he's very dishonest. He didn't disclose this, but I did my research and I found out his wife owns the property. And, he actually showed me the contract. He emailed it to me and he's like, I got it circled. He's like, she's lying. I wrote it in the contract, and you could see it in the contract. It says, he wrote there that his spouse, his wife, was the owner of the property, so she was full of crap. But either way, I gave her a release from it because I don't want to deal with it. I said, did you show them any other properties? No. Okay. So then whatever other nonsense they're talking about doesn't matter, because he said, yeah, they wouldn't answer my calls or anything afterwards. Well, she now is calling and saying, yes, he never even bothered to call up. We said we were going to buy other property then, but he didn't want to do nothing with us and he didn't call us or nothing. So we want to work with someone else, another agent who just had a baby, and we want her to get the commission, even though she's a new agent. And okay, that's all irrelevant. I don't care about that. That's drama. Why are you telling me all these nonsensical details, right? So basically, this is the kind of crap we got to deal with sometimes. So anyway, I said, all right, you just got to write a letter canceling your exclusive agency agreement with us. Wait 3 business days. Make sure that you sign it. Don't just send an email or text message. Write a letter or type it, sign it, have your son put his name on there, the dates and everything, and that he's terminating the agency relationship, and sign it and then email it and CC me so I get a copy of it as well. Okay. Well, he sent an email saying it. They never wrote a letter and signed it. I explained to them, I was like, listen, it's a contract. All contracts need to be in writing. So if you're going to terminate a contract, you need to do that in writing as well. Make sure your signature's on. They sent an email, whatever. We're not going to pursue it anyway, but you know, people can be difficult. You give them explicit instructions. They don't, it goes in one ear out the other because they got their own agenda. Okay. But nonetheless, these are issues that could be brought up, you know. And now she says, oh, yeah, I didn't say last night, but because that was before I called you, but I also filed a complaint with the Real Estate Commission. I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm going to have to deal with the Real Estate Commission because this lady made up some lies about he didn't disclose that his wife was a real estate agent, you know. So these things can affect your license if it was true, but he showed me that it was written in the contract, so she's full of crap. Anyway, violating any of the rules regulating rental practices, failure to notify, you may want to highlight this one, failure to notify the commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or having your license suspended or revoked for a real estate license issued in New Jersey or any other state, or any other professional license, or of the initiation of any disciplinary proceedings. Violating any other previous rules of the administrative code. And if the licensee is guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles, a person may be considered a repeat offender and denied ever holding a real estate license again. Listen, I know people that got fined, many violations because of different things, okay? But just say that it's like one petty thing. Like they keep telling you at open houses, you have to have the CIS form and a sign-in sheet. And they give you a $50 fine. And then you did it again. And then they give you a $100 fine. And you keep doing it and doing it because you really don't care. You know, that's a small thing, whatever. And that's the way you treat it. They could be like, whatever, nothing. We're going to revoke your license. Can't work no more. How about that, whatever? You want to treat the rules and do whatever you want, we're not going to allow that. So we're going to revoke your license because you're a repeat offender. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something harsh that you did. It could be that you just don't care and you act that way. They could be like, okay, we're going to take your license away then. All right. So once again, here's that slide. If you didn't get it before with all that information all on one slide, if you want to snap a picture, do it. It's easier to study.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, that's the end of chapter 2. So let's do the key terms to review at the end of chapter 2. There are only one key terms to review in this one. Okay, so let's do it. The way it works, once again, I read the phrase on the right side of the page. You shout out what you think the corresponding term that matches up to that on the left side of the page. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you got them. Are you ready? Like my game show style? All right. Broker's additional place of business.
Branch office.
What's that? Branch office is correct. One is A. A least severe discipline by the Real Estate Commission.
6.
Probation.
Probation.
Yeah.
6, probation. 6 is B. Correct. A place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Trust account.
It is, but that's not the answer
Escrow.
they're looking for here. They're looking for escrow account, but either one is correct because they're both the same thing. Because later on, they actually have trust account, and that's matches up to another name for escrow account. Okay, so you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay.
C is
4C.
C and 4
Escrow.
Okay.
Correct. 4 is
Four.
C. And then I guess we could skip to the other one. 9 is I, because I says another name for escrow account.
Trust
I have
account.
a-
Account.
Well, later, I guess I'll ask.
I'm sorry, Gladys.
No, I'll ask it later. It's okay.
Okay. So 4 was C and 9 was I. Okay, the next one. A copy of a real estate contract with original signatures.
Duplicate original.
There you go. 3 is D. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
It is. 5 is E. Mixing brokers' money with that of others.
Commingling.
Yes.
Commingling. Yeah.
Yes, commingling. 2 is F. Cancellation of a real estate license.
Revocation.
Revocation. 7 is G. Temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
Suspension. 7 is 8. I'm sorry, 8 is H. Another name for escrow account, trust account. 9 is I. And then form sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation with any other broker.
Waiver of broker.
Waiver of broker cooperation. 10
Waiver
is
of
J.
cooperation.
Yep. And that concludes this chapter. Go ahead, Gladys. You had a question still?
Yeah. For the review questions, number 4 says if the salesperson accepts an earnest money deposit and returns it over to his broker, what does state law require the broker to do with the earnest money? So A says open a separate bank account for the deposit, and D says deposit it within 5 business days into a trust. So I was going to ask you.
Okay. Is the broker required to open a different bank account for each client that makes a deposit, or are they also allowed to just have one bank account and put everybody's money in that one bank account as long as they make notation of it in the escrow books, the ledger?
But I thought that there was a bank account for the business, and then there's a bank account for.
Correct.
Escrow.
Okay, you're talking about the broker's bank accounts. The broker has one operating account to run their business and have all the expenses paid out of that. The escrow or trust account, that's the bank account where we keep other people's money and only other people's money. Now, when I was talking about escrow accounts the other day, I brought up the fact that brokers can have one bank account as long as they keep track of who put what money into it and when the money's paid out of it. They keep track of it. Or the broker can have an escrow account that has a main account, and for each client, they open a sub account. They open up a separate account for each client. Okay. But they're not required to do that. Okay. So now let's review that question again. Salesperson accepts an earnest money deposit and turns it over to his broker. Okay. So let's reword that. Okay. Client gives you money. And now what do you do with it? You give it to the broker so they can put it in the escrow account. So what does state law require the broker to do with the earnest money? Requires them to put it in the escrow account.
Yeah.
Right?
Within 5 days.
So let's look at the answer options and do process of elimination. Open a separate bank account for the deposit. They could, but they're not required to. That's state law doesn't require that. So it's not that. Okay. Keep in the account used for the salespeople's activities. No, that's your operating account. Promptly deposit it in the office's business account. No, that's commingling. It has to be in the escrow, a separate bank account only for other people's money. So without even reading the last one, you know it's the last answer. But we will read the last answer that says deposit it within 5 business days into the trust account or escrow account. That's the answer.
Trust and escrow are same thing?
Yep. 2 names for the same thing. Yep.
Okay.
Attorneys usually refer to them as trust accounts. Real estate brokers usually refer to them as escrow. Either way, they do the same thing. Trust, escrow, it's the same thing. It's you're entrusting your money to us, so we put it in a trust account. Or you could call it an escrow account because it's an escrow deposit. Yeah, they're 2 names. They mean the same thing. It's a bank account for keeping other people and only other people's money. Okay. Any other questions? Or we good? Okay.
Go ahead. You can go first.
No. I was asking you. Any other questions?
The one number 7, how
Uh-huh.
long do you have to give the duplicate immediately? Is it, I mean, duplicate original, is it immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
Anytime you sign a contract with somebody, you have to give them a duplicate. Anytime it's signed by all parties and it's fully executed, you have to give them a duplicate original of it immediately. Whether it's a
Immediately.
listing agreement, a sales or lease contract, what have I even give disclosures immediately to them. You know, so it's
Okay.
immediately. Yes. Okay. Any others? We're good. Okay. Let me end this chapter. Oop, let's not end the meeting. It's going to end the wrong thing there.